Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of a Bazaar podcast. We have taken a short little break, but now we are back as usual. You can still find us on YouTube as well as Spotify, Apple Podcast, or via RSS feed for your podcast listening app of choice. Just as a quick PSA, if anyone didn't see our latest announcement, we have slightly tweaked the format. So instead of always doing every week, we will kind of tune it around what is happening in the game, how much we feel like we have to talk about with the just changed balance cadence. But there's a very short announcement video on our YouTube channel if you want sort of the full context. But this week, Sixten said he had so much to talk about. We have an amazing guest lined up. So, as per usual, there was no reason not to hit record. And speaking of, that is first of my co hosts that are joining us, Sixten.
Yes, hi, hello. I'm super excited to be here to talk some Bazaar.
Awesome. And of course, I'm, as per usual, MetallFenix. And joining us is guest of the week, Urmia. Why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself in case they aren't familiar?
Yeah, hi. My name's Urmia. I started streaming on Twitch recently. I'm a Stell main in the Bazaar. I love the game. I was top 5 last season. I've been top 10 this season. And yeah, I just really enjoy playing Stell, and I'm glad to be on the podcast and talk about the state of the game in general.
Awesome. Happy to have you here. And something that we've been doing as kind of an icebreaker lately, just for fun, how did you end up with the Bazaar in the first place?
So as a kid, I played card games my entire life, and Hearthstone came about right at a certain point, and I played that, and I knew of Raynad from Hearthstone. And then following like Raynad loosely, like you knew that this game was in the works for several years, right? So
Hmm.
once it finally came out, I just bought the beta and enjoyed it ever since, right? I played in closed beta, and then life got kind of busy, and when Stell came out, I was able to revisit the game and just play it a lot more. And yeah, I love it. It's a great game.
Yeah, it really was such a revitalization when we had that big season 5 patch. I obviously will have to see. We haven't gotten our hands on season 6 yet. That seems to be some amount away still, but I think for this kind of game, it's a really exciting format to just have these really big patches when patches happen. Because it's such an easy game to come back to and revisit, right? It's not like you've fallen completely behind on a card game collection because you didn't play for a set or something. You can just
Yeah,
jump right
exactly.
back in.
Yeah, whereas like TFT, for example, which I played a lot of, like if you're
Mm,
not staying on top of the meta, week to week, then you're just not able to climb, right? Like this game is vastly different in that aspect.
yeah. And not to mention, like, I played Hearthstone too, and, after having quit for like 2 years, then when I looked back at the game, I was like, should I play again? And then I was like, oh, the 700 cards that I do not own, maybe I won't.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it feels like they've kind of settled on a model that suits what the game is. I definitely didn't mind when they had a really high balance cadence, but they're a super small team. If they say that's unsustainable, then it's not very difficult for me to believe them. It's a lot to patch as often as they originally did.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's just a big undertaking, like you said. It requires a lot of man hours.
Yeah. And when you don't got as many men as the man hours you need, men and women, I suppose, then you can only do so much. And I think they're prioritizing more content, which I think that's sensible. Um,
Yeah, I agree.
but
I mean,
yeah,
we'd
so
all like to see more content.
for sure, you've been around kind of since the start. What did you use to play before Style?
So I mained Pig in the beginning, right? He was just like, I mean, what's funny is that that aspect of him hasn't changed, in that square builds are still like a core part of what he does,
Right.
as far as like a build path. And I played mostly just a bunch of Pig and closed beta, but that was in the days where you could force the crook, right? Because he didn't have many tools. So
Yeah,
once you
yeah.
saw Orion, like you just guaranteed to have a crook, and that was a bit too linear, but I enjoyed it. And then I played some Vanessa for funsies when Puffer was like a bit broken, right? As we all remember. So the old Puffer was
Hmm.
quite insane. Red Vanessa was really really fun back then. And then what was it? The port? I forgot what the large item's called that refills the potions. That build was also really fun. I
Uh,
played a lot of that.
yes, I believe that is port.
Correct.
Um, Good. We we still remember, even though it has been quite some time since port saw play on your board consistently.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was. I mean, back then it was an absolute menace, right? Like it
Yeah.
was a
Yeah,
very
it's funny.
interesting
That
time.
build was kind of like getting to play Mac 3 months early. Like when it was strong, it
A
was
little
sort of
bit,
a bit
yeah.
like Mac's distillery based comps in a
And I
sense. Did
think,
you,
as
what?
fun as I'm sure some people found that build, the issue was definitely the fact that it was so reliant on what items you got on the day from the port itself, since you needed. I think it was really reliant on frost potions, right?
Yeah,
Especially.
yeah. They
Yeah,
used to be broken back
Rainbow
then.
and Frost. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And of course, if you're playing Mac, then you have those items in your shops, you have your catalyst, you have your distillery. But it was a fun vision of things to come, for sure.
Yeah.
But you've been playing Stell now. What kind of spoke to you the most from her kit?
Well, at first it was just try her because new champion, equals maybe
Hmm.
fun, right? So like she what she's all about, and then her items just felt so cohesive, right? Obviously, it's a
Yeah,
consequence
yeah,
of A, having a limited card pool, and B, having a card pool that just inherently synergizes with itself so well, right? Like flying items go with flying items, right? It's an intuitive thought. It's not really that crazy. And you're able to just put boards together intuitively, without really knowing
hmm,
much. So that was just nice, right? As a new player, as a player coming back to the game, I should say. So the game experience was just really fun, right? And like she was broken, right? And I like to win, so it was just
yeah, yeah.
fun all around. Like
I will say though, like as much as I agree with what you're mentioning that the flying items go with flying items, part of my personally favorite thing about Stell has been how well it feels like you can transition between like grounded builds and flying builds and partial things that are in between.
yes, but they kind of
Especially,
plug and play. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah.
No.
No, no, no. Go on, go on.
I was just gonna say that. I mean, like that. The reason that happens though is because they use some of the core pieces, right? Like
Yeah.
Ornithopter is
Yep.
playing in a lot of your flying ground
Mm-hmm.
builds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just one of her best items. Like Flare Gun's playing in a lot of her flying and stop, and
Yep.
ground builds. Given that vehicles are a primary means of winning the game for a lot of her lines, right? So the ubiquitous nature of her power spiked single slots allow you to transition easily, and that
Yeah.
is nice. It feels good, but it's doubly punishing when you don't see one of these two pivotal pieces, right? So that
Yeah.
there's that.
I do also think that one of my favorite style items is the calipers. Because I really love how they let you sort of also transition from one of the common lines that I found myself in when I played the most Stell was to go from tool starts and then transition into Stellar Swallowtail, but without running much flying because you can overcap on haste triggers just with a calipers if you make it fast enough.
I never considered that. That's interesting. I mean, I always like the item as like a
Hmm.
early mid game tempo item. I think it's probably her best early mid game haste tempo item.
Yeah.
So I mean, in that respect, I always gave her respect. But I play a lot of Swallow, and I actually have never paired. I mean, like slightly right before I have a final wise board. Like if you have
Hmm.
multiple angle grinder drones, you're playing your calipers to get those haste procs and juice your weenies that are getting scaled with maybe sharp corners, like what have you. But yeah, I didn't pair it too much with Swallow. I like that. That's cool that you did
Yeah,
that.
no, it's definitely like as long as you have, especially if you put if you manage to get something else that can make sure that the calipers themselves are hasted, it's not so hard to get them to be able to fully fuel the swallowtail. And I've also done a lot of swallowtail math, where obviously the main thing that matters for it is that it's so easy to overcap it on haste triggers, just with how ICD works. So at a point, the only way that you can reliably increase the DPS output of Swallowtail is by just trying to maximize cooldown reduction rather than trying to have more instances of haste procs.
Yes.
And that is interesting because it causes an effect where the more CDR you have, the less haste you need, which means it's even easier to only need the calipers as your engine.
Yeah, I remember I was inspired by your boards. You ran like double flare gun, calipers, ornithopter, and then magma core to
Yes,
activate the
to
flare
have
gun. So you have like a one
mhm.
second swallowtail start of game, and then you have like smoke detector maybe to kickstart the haste and such. Like you can do like swallowtail plus a bunch of smalls can be insanely powerful.
This is another kind of neat one that I had. I've put it on the screen, but I also did like low roller swallowtail, so that's another example of a
Yeah,
mostly
it's
grounded.
it's one of his more premier pieces, right? If you don't have like even in today's meta, if you don't have a bombs away, low roller is the engine you use to feed his haste. That's I use ornithopter and flare gun. So this is a very typical board that you would see for me,
Yeah.
and I play a lot of swallowtail. So it's quite a strong board you have there for sure.
No, I
Absolutely.
Yeah.
definitely I like swallowtail a lot. It's a really
So
fun
do I. I
item.
think it's our best large carry item. The mean Sixten probably disagree there, and I don't think it's close. So if we want to have that discussion, we
No,
can.
I definitely think it's the best designed one, because I also always say this a lot. So I almost like I liked Femur a lot when Mac came out, but the more time passed, the more it became incredibly apparent how problematic it is with items that charge and scale. That's why we've seen so many of them take like rarity shifts, really severe nerfs, sometimes full on reworks. It just doesn't. There's no way to make it consistently balanced because it's so volatile that you always end up just being this is really bad or this is way too good. And so for Stell, I think they had that in mind when they effectively took Femur and they split it in twain, which resulted in the Daggerwing and the Swallowtail, because they are the two respective pieces that put together make a Femur, more or less. And I think out of those two, I'm much more fond of the charging than the scaling, which really makes me strongly lead towards Swallowtail, both for the fact that I think it's very powerful. Like, having inherent scaling makes it easier to hit a consistent power level, but you hit a upper ceiling for how fast you can make it. Whereas if you have something that charges insanely well but has no scaling, it's much harder to solve the scaling, but the payoff if you do is far greater. And I love those kinds of items where the thing that you have to solve is difficult, but the reward is tremendous, because I feel like there's so much skill expression that can be put into learning how to master playing those builds consistently.
Yeah, but there's something to be said about the fact that if you don't hit these items on tempo in regards to like a charge item, you will just do no damage in the late game, right? Like that is
Yeah,
objectively true, right?
for
Yeah, I
sure.
would say I like Swallowtail was my favorite stealth build last patch, but the changes to Expert Pilot and Obsidian being rarer, as well as Shield, Shield Duel is way more popular. Vanessa has like Shielded Pufferfish is more common now. Pig loves Shield, like just it's a lot harder to kill people with a vanilla Swallowtail now than before. Like you kind of need sharp corners, you kind of need some way to scale the damage through skills. And that just means that the times you don't get those skills, it can be a frustrating experience. Like I still love the item, but in this current meta, I find it a frustrating build to go for because if you brick on the skills, then it's just kind of it just falls off so hard,
Yeah, you
right?
definitely have
Yeah,
like I see it as almost like a limited window opportunity where it makes the most sense to go for it because you want to go for it when you know that you'll have time to, with reasonable probability, hit the skills that you need without falling off too much in tempo.
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I do think it's a bit easier to get the skills you need now, given that a fire trainer just gives you bombs away and
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
slash
bombs
or
away is
hotspot.
massive
Yeah,
for
it
it.
really makes the whole build right because I mean, in essence, I mean it's a little slower, obviously, but one burn stacks up on your vehicle boards more than like a silver sharp corners would. I would think it's better scaling personally. Like,
Yeah. I also do like, of course, anything that just makes it very easy to utilize flare gun to a high potential is
yeah,
very
it's. I think
good.
that's maybe my favorite item from Stell. If I had to make a top five, flare gun, Orny. I don't know what order you put them in, but they are
Yeah.
there. In solid place. Absolutely. Like,
I agree. I love when support items are strong. That's
Yeah.
like my favorite thing in general. Like I very rarely have like win conditions in my favorite items list. It's usually like more quirky, small. Like oftentimes, like small items on average are usually where like my favorite items are
Yeah.
because they are just the cool like glue pieces that make fun stuff happen often.
And I think, like, in a way, I agree overall. And items like Swallowtail tend to be my exceptions, but it's exactly because they're sort of the exceptions that confirm the rule. Normally, it's support items that tend to enable the most build variety, and that's why we are so fond of the rare exceptions of having carry items that actually enable like a wider range of builds like Swallowtail.
Yeah, the cool thing about Swallowtail is that it is a support item for itself. Like it is such a like it has two
Hmm.
effects at once. Like it self charges, but then it also has a secondary effect which allows it to charge. So like it in a way is like a support item and a win condition at once. Like I've even had boards where I use the Swallowtail to enable a pill buggy or to enable
Ah,
a
yeah,
different
yeah.
like I you can play like Swallowtail hybrid builds in like for tempo. Like this is not the optimal way to do it, but sometimes if you just don't have haste, you can use a Swallowtail to get haste essentially or shield. So it's just a really cool item overall. And yeah, so Urmia, beyond Swallowtail, do you have any other favorite Stell lines or builds? Like how do you play Stell
right
right now?
now, it's typically playing into a Swallowtail or playing into Lava Roller or playing Skyliner. Rod is always there. Rod is probably your second best carry item. It's I've just been finding it a little hard to force, given that like you'll be on day 10 as you know, and spike a silver slow and steady, which just kills like any ability for you to actually win the game, unfortunately. So like the scaling, it's kind of the same problem with Swallowtail, but it's easier to find scaling for Swallowtail in my opinion, given that you can find it through a shield trainer or a fire trainer. Whereas with Lightning Rod, you need the slow and steady. You need a shatter. Like you need something that's just like harder to find. Like there's just there's limited options to find a slow and steady and a shatter than there are to find a hotspot or a bombs away.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I definitely, honestly, I quite like that part of it. I'm much happier when that type of item is something that you can go into when it makes sense, rather than being something that you can just consistently force. That was like sort of always the issue, right? When Proboscis was available at bronze.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah, I agree. I think being able to force like any sort of build, especially like that sort of slow build, is not that great for the game
Yeah.
state.
It's like, I think for any build to be balanced, the best way to look at it is that the ratio between how difficult it is to pull off has to be proportional to what you actually get out of pulling it off. But that just kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
intuitive. Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
what do you guys enjoy playing on Stellar? I know you're playing some Vanessa right now, right? But when you were playing Stella, I noticed that you played a lot of Skyliner.
Yeah, I played a ton of. Let me check my games here. So let me see my data for this. I played 42 games in Legend on Stealth this season so far. So most of them are Skyliner or Rod. But the weird thing about Rod, like when it says that I played Rod, it's because I oftentimes played a different build, but then I like lost day 9 and 10 to Pygmalion or some strong dually. And then what I was playing at the time, like whether it be pressure heater, Skyliner, it just starts to fall off. And then I find like Rod and Weather Machine on day 11 and Pivot. So like I have a lot of Rod games, and then beyond that I also play quite a bit of let me see, quite a bit of Swallowtail still, also some Pill Buggy, and then I oftentimes also play like Blaze Hull Warden with like stuff like Pressure Heater, Battle Balloon, and Steam Washer. It's a lot worse now without Hangar at gold. Like that was a massive nerf to that build's viability, because Hangar is how you were able to beat stuff like Aggro Vanessa or Pig, but it's still a viable tempo line. And if you get like Blaze Hull Warden or a Fire Enchant, it can absolutely go to like day 12. So those are like my main ways to play Stell. But Skyliner is my favorite line currently. It's unintuitive, but the bombs away skill is arguably as important for Skyliner as it is for Swallowtail. And the reason is that it allows Battle Balloon to full fly your entire board. The main issue with Skyliner in the past was that you had to dedicate like 6 or 7 board slots to making your board fly. So you had like one really good large item, and then like 7 mediocre items that are just there to make you fly. But now with Bombs Away, you can just play like Battle Balloon, Orny, Flare Gun, Skyliner, and then you have like 3 board spaces over, or even 4 to do whatever you want. Like you can play Flashbang, you can play Low Roller, like you can do whatever you want, and that just makes the build way stronger. Like when you have 4 board slots to effectively just put in like tech items, put in crowd control, put in acceleration, that just makes Skyliner so much stronger. Because the main issue with Skyliner, beyond solving the multicast, is its cooldown, right? Like it is a 10-second item. But if you have that extra space, you can like slot in a Diamond Nicola, you can slot in a Pogo to chart it. Like you can do so much stuff. And if you can make the Skyliner be like this, it goes off at 5 seconds on day 10, that's just gonna kill people. Like it just kills people. So I love Skyliner. I think it's super satisfying to play it. I think the skill ceiling is quite high now because there's so many ways to, like for example, I've also started playing Weather Machine Skyliner. So when I'm
Yeah, I do that
hedging
a good bit
for
as well.
Rod, I grab a slow and steady, then I find like a gold Weather Machine, and then I'm like hedging for Rod. But if I see Skyliner, then I have a skill that scales the Skyliner. I have a Weather Machine that makes my entire board fly, and then mass slow, like Weather Machine slowing everything and making your stuff fly. Like slow has a lot of synergy with burn. That's why like a Steam host is so strong, because when you apply burn to the opponent, like the idea, like if you could press a button that said permanently freeze all items, whoever is playing burn is favored from that. Like you are favored if items stop functioning. So having everything be constantly slowed, and then your Skyliner goes off once and it puts 400 burn on the opponent, that just kills people as well. So I really really like where Skyliner is currently.
Yeah, he's good. He's healthy.
It's very good, yeah. But it's just
Yeah, he's fair
counterintuitive.
too. He's
Like
very fair.
if you read the patch notes, you wouldn't like immediately assume that, oh yeah, Bumps Away, that's like gonna make Skyliner suddenly be one of her best largest. So it was really cool for me to discover it just through like playing a lot of games, and it's just why I love this game. Like there are, you can't just read patch notes and immediately know what's gonna be strong. Like so much is just there to be discovered through like iterations and playing. Anyway, so that's
Yeah,
my still
absolutely.
experience. And then for Vanessa, this is a recent thing. So we had skill-based matchmaking for about a 2 day span at Legend. where 40% of our opponents were like the best players in the game. Like you queue into Rarish 2 or 3 times per game. You
I
queue
was
into
versing Ragnar 6 times a game, man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not joking. I have VODs with me versing Ragnar. It was literally 6 times a game, and the other opponents are just like Hunting Mage or Little Monk, or because that's the NA bracket, right? So it's like those are the guys that I'm versing all the time. And
like I wasn't in that bracket at that point on the live server, but I've had some runs on the test server where it would just be like you face Retro was kind of the Grim Reaper of the test server. You face him like 4 times in a row, your run is just dead. You're just like,
Yeah.
leave me
like they
alone,
have the perfect
please.
tempo boards, and Stell's at a state where, unless you are high rolling, and even at times when you are, like her tempo cap boards are just weaker than the others. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
when you have the best
Yeah.
players piloting the other heroes, that
So what I
was
was
my
gonna-
experience. Yeah.
Go on.
No, you're right. No, I was just agreeing with you, right? Like, what were you going to segue into?
Yeah, so when that happened, like I was all in on the stealth train. Like I didn't consider playing the other heroes this patch. It's just that during the skill-based matchmaking window, all the opponents I faced were playing Vanessa. Like 80% of my opponents were Vanessas. Like Pink Beaver was playing it, Rarish, a few others. It just and I couldn't like I could have like day 3 gold ball blaster, doesn't matter. I could have 15 burn balloon engine on day 6, doesn't matter. Like you cannot beat a best in slot Vanessa board on Stell. Like it just highlighted for me that while Stell might be more consistent at beating decent builds, if you just want to like consistently win, you should learn Vanessa. Like that was like what sparked my interest in, okay, I should try Vanessa. Like her skill ceiling and overall potential seems really high here. And then they reverted the skill-based matchmaking, and then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go back to Stell then. But then I kind of got this itch, like, oh man, I still want to try Vanessa. Like I still want to play her. So I finally bit the bullet and like just committed to Vanessa. So I got coached a bit by Google MK Ultra, who is like a Vanessa main. I got a bit of help from Leo, who is another like really great Vanessa player. I read some
Yeah, he
guides
taught
about
me
Vanessa.
Vanessa.
Yeah, I just basically tried to do a crash course in how does Vanessa work this patch, and she is so freaking fun. Like I love Stell, I really do. But Stell is like in this current patch, you have maybe 4 viable lines. Like we already like mentioned the big ones. Like you have 4 lines that can actually compete. I would say Vanessa has like 8, maybe even 9. Like she has so many completely different builds. So just to name a few, you have the regular shark claws, katana, tempo, weapons, aggro stuff that most people are playing. That's like one line. You have signal weapon stuff that you can be playing. You have torpedo. You have aquatic stuff. You have pufferfish. You have caught rising blade. You have boulder. You have anchor. And I'm sure I'm missing a million others. Like there are just almost every Vanessa item except for like turtle shell goes into some kind of build currently. Like if you actually just learn how to play her, her item pool, like we talk about how Stella has so many viable items. That is true, but Vanessa has so many viable lines. And I think having viable lines can be in a way more satisfying than having just viable items. I don't know if that makes
Yeah, I
any
think
sense,
it's
but it's
fair.
like
No, it's
yeah.
fair. But one thing I will say is
Go
that
ahead.
with Vanessa, in my experience, I haven't played her as much, but you had to commit to a build far earlier than you do on Stell. You had to
Oh, for
hard
sure.
commit
No,
to
no.
something.
That's the skill ceiling part. Like you have to know when is it correct to commit. Like that's why I don't think Vanessa will have a super high win rate, because you cannot just brute force like her like the same way you could on Stella. Like you can't just brute force balloon engine on Vanessa every game, because you're not gonna get balloon engine on Vanessa every game. Like you're gonna be met with a day 1 where you see no red weapons. Like that's gonna happen because of her item pool, right? Like you don't get
Yeah.
Isla, then you have to play aquatic. But aquatic is also like really good right now. Like Oni Mask is aquatic adjacent. You can play vents. Like there are a ton of things. Oh, not to mention weather glass and depth charge. Like I didn't even, those are like super strong right now. So it's just like you have to know the lines. You have to know like, okay, is this an indication that I'm gonna play weather glass? Should I hedge a Yeti crab on day 2? Should I grab this poison skill to hedge for depth charge? Like it's a lot of knowledge checks, I would call it. Like for some people that might be frustrating. Like if you don't have like time to play 4 hours of Bazaar every day, you know, like maybe this isn't super fun. But if you're like me, you love like stuff like chess, you love studying opening lines, you love learning variations, you love every run feeling different from the one before. I would say Vanessa right now is so fun. So MetallFenix, I know you haven't played that much, but does this make you more interested in perhaps trying Vanessa, or is it
Potentially. I'll also say
okay?
that historically, because I'm someone who Vanessa is still my most played character. I just haven't necessarily played her that recently. And I will say something that is almost always true for Vanessa, and I'm just making an assumption that it's still true here, but since it generally is, I think it's a fair assumption to make. But she's a character that, interestingly, her items are designed to be a little bit simpler, because she's in a way kind of the new player character, which isn't a bad thing, but it interestingly means that oftentimes the higher the average power level of the game is, the more difficult it can be for the things that are naturally in Vanessa's kit to keep up with the heightened power level of things in the game more generally. But as soon as what then usually happens is we get a series of nerfs to bring down all of these outliers. And when that happens, Vanessa excels at having lines that are powerful when the average power level is relatively low in the game as a whole. And based on that, I'm kind of very unsurprised that Vanessa feels like she's in a really good spot right now, since the general state of the game seems to reflect exactly what I would expect to be the type of environment Vanessa excels the most in.
Yeah, it's also relevant that it's not so much just that other heroes got nerfed, she also got super duper buffed. I believe like at least 20, maybe 25 of her items received number passes, and like that's the thing. I talked with the I think it was Cranberry, that's another like great stealth player yesterday about this. You can, with like only buffing 4 or 5 items in a hero's kit, you can completely revitalize a hero. Like 5 changes, and you can make a hero go from having one viable build to having 5. Like I'm not even exaggerating. And I think when you do 25 passes on a hero, that is just such unprecedented level of like just general increase in it's basically like raising the ceiling is how I would phrase it. Like Vanessa's, no, sorry, the floor. Like her floor
Yeah.
was much lower before. Like she had a ton of like just bad early game items, like just items you wouldn't want to click. But then they buffed like her worst items, and her good items were like still. They also buffed her good items, like Swarz did, for example. Like they actually buffed the top end and the bottom end. So what happens is just that when you go to a shop on Vanessa right now, so long as you're willing to play every line, there aren't like that many bad items anymore. Like sure, there is fishing net or whatever. Like there are a couple, but in general, you are very happy to go to shops. And I think the happier you are to go to shops on a hero, the higher the skill expression for the hero is. Like when the best way to play a hero is to constantly look for new items, that's when you have so many decisions to make about pivoting, resource management, um, hedging, etc., etc. And the other thing that makes Vanessa very strong is something that has always been the case for her. She has natural access to cooldown reduction and to health based scaling. So, what she has is stuff like Boulder and Anchor. That means that right now, Pygmalion is still the best hero in the late game overall. Like, he is still the hero that, because of survivorship bias and because of the way he scales outside of combat, if you could pick one hero to be on day 15, it's Pig. However, the way to counter Pig is to have items that scale with Pig's health. And Vanessa has those items. She has Powder Keg, she has the aforementioned Anchor and Boulder, right? That means that right now Vanessa's early game is very good. Her mid game is very good. And then in the late game, you have 3 Pig killer items, right? And then on top of that, she has the new skill or rework skill called I forgot the name of the skill, but it's like Temporal Strike, I think. You can correct
Yeah.
me if it's wrong.
Yep, no,
It's
that's the
now,
one.
if you have one weapon, it has cooldown reduction. That, because of the way cooldown now works, where it kind of stacks. On like a boulder, if you have star chart, that's like an item you're happy to buy on day one. Like it's just an item you always will have in the stash if you can.
Yeah,
You have a
it
star
needs to be
chart.
nerfed. That's how good it is. Yeah.
Sure, you have a star chart. You have that skill. You have a couple wings. You now have like a freaking boulder, just that is like going like a Ferrari. You have a Ferrari boulder on day 13 that just one-shots the opponent. You have an anchor that literally can, like an anchor behaving like a yo-yo. Like you pick up either Bloodhound or reel them in. Now you have an anchor. It goes off. They go to half health. It just bounces right back, goes off again. It's her late game is also really, really strong. But what I love about it is that her late game lines, like Anchor and Boulder and Keg, they are not lines you play on day one. This is what I love about Vanessa right now. You aren't just playing Anchor from day one. The way to play Vanessa optimally is to like play tempo weapons from maybe day 1 to 5. Then you can pivot to whichever first carry item you find. You can, like, if you see an early depth charge, you pivot to that. If you see Cart Rising Blade, you pick that up. If you see Puffer, you can pick that up. Like, you can pivot again in the mid game. And then if you like lose the day 9, day 10, you can pivot a third time. Like, this is so cool. This is what I want the Bazaar to be. I want it to be like the late game feels different from the mid game, feels different from the early game. And Vanessa right now is like exactly that. So that is why I find her so addicting right now. It's like, this is the Bazaar that Reynard sort of promised me. The idea that your build can radically change from day to day, which, just let's face it, on Stel, if you face easy opponents, you can play Balloon Engine from day 1 to 10. If you're playing Dooley, you can play the same core from day 2 to 10. Like, it, for most other heroes, you can just kind of play the same build. But I do think on Vanessa right now, if you care about winning as much as possible, it is actually correct to pivot like during the mid game and during the late game. So if you guys have anything to add here, I'm just
No, I
super happy
think,
about the state of Vanessa.
yeah, no, I think that's generally a rather correct assessment of Vanessa, and that has most of the time been true. The only real exceptions are usually whenever there's some really potent single weapon build that you can force, or if the thing that makes weapons strong is specifically trebuchet. Sometimes that can, like, trebuchet is balloon engine. It's not a very different item fundamentally. But whenever you don't have something like trebuchet being the main line, and whenever you don't have single weapons being the main strategy, I do find that Vanessa plays exactly how you described it. And I think that is kind of the reason why she's so good whenever, especially in the early mid game, the average power level is a little bit lower, just because the one crux of that playstyle is that you need to be allowed time. Because
Yeah.
oftentimes Vanessa's pivots are not smooth or quick or
No,
painless
no,
or
no, no. It
easy.
is a bit of chaos every time. Like when
Yeah.
you go from weapons to burn, like it's not a smooth transition, but it's a fun transition. Is how I would phrase it. It's
Mm-hmm.
very fun to do
And
it.
that's why it matters so much, I've found at least historically playing her, whether or not it's like, I need to be in my Exodia build in 3 days, or I need to be in my Exodia build on this day, is like, the former makes it feel pretty fun because you have this like puzzle that you just have to succeed at in a reasonable time frame, whereas the latter always just made me feel like it was way more like, no, I just gotta hit keg immediately or I'm just dead. So when you have time, I like it when Vanessa plays that way.
Yeah. And then we can briefly discuss the other heroes. I don't think any of you have been playing much Mac or Pig or Dooley.
Not a whole
I have
ton.
played a.
I
Go
will
ahead.
say though, I was curious, Urmia, you mentioned earlier the lava roller. I haven't played much with that item myself, so I'm very curious. Give me the rundown on what's your
Yeah.
lava roller strategy?
So I mean, it's a build I used to meme on a lot until I actually saw it played, and then I became kind of a believer. It's really the easy to transition into out of tools. Essentially, like hydrogen tank, as you know, when it's destroyed, deal 100 burn, and then lava roller destroys adjacent items. Like it's a coin flip on which side, but you can force it obviously, and you just sort of play that out of the tool line, and it's been really nice. The lava roller destroys the hydro tank. You put 100 burn on them, and then it doubles the burn on the lava roller, and it plays with a lot of different big items. It plays with launch tower, it plays with Stell's workshop. Very well. So it's just it's not a hard thing to put together, given that you're playing on tempo. But that's kind of all Stell builds, right? Like if you're behind, it's a little hard to piece it together. But
So
on
it's
tempo,
just
it's pretty good.
very much the fact that it's kind of a 2-card combo, and her item pool is small enough that you feel like you get it reliably.
Yeah, well, it's a medium item, right? And it's not a weapon,
Yeah.
so it's like not too hard to find, and yeah, it's not the most difficult thing to put together, and I think it's
Gotcha.
pretty powerful, and it's if you pair it with like a big one or a buster line, it's just too much burst. Like no one beats you. Like
Right,
you like in the mid game, like there's like I don't think the numbers are there for like any build to get there against you. With the lava roller line, I honestly think it's your strongest line now. Given you can
Interesting.
put the Exodia together, but even as a tempo line without all its pieces, it's quite strong, and it doesn't rely on any skills, which is especially good.
In my experience, because I've played it a bit as well, I feel like it's so reliant on fighting hydrogen tank to have make it fast enough, right? Like without the tank, it takes a long time for you to actually
Yeah, I mean, you can call
kill
the
it.
build tank build. I mean, that's how pivotal it is, right? Yeah, absolutely. It's a two
That's my
card
like my
combo. Yeah,
my
like you
point there.
said. Like,
Yeah, you can't just play lava roller. You need the tank as well. Like if you want
yeah,
to
but that's
actually.
any build, right? Like, you're not just gonna play Swallowtail. You're not just gonna play the
Yeah,
Skyliner,
sure,
right?
sure,
Like, there
sure,
needs to
sure.
be some sort of thing to support it. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Okay,
Yeah, I
well,
like it.
it's
I think
very
people should explore it
interesting.
more.
Okay. No, I'll definitely have to keep my eyes open for that. I'm guessing I haven't really tried Hanger post nerf, but looking at the numbers, I expect that to feel pretty terrible.
I had a
You
day
just can't
8
find it.
shiny hanger. Like I had a
Hmm.
day 8 diamond shiny hanger. I lost. Like I just it's at diamond now. It's actually just bad. Like it was very good at gold before, but that's also because you find it earlier. Like if you found gold hanger on day 13 in the lost patch, that wouldn't like be that strong. Like you want it to be diamond
Right.
ASAP. So it's like I at the same time I don't love the item. So in a way, I'm fine with it not being like effectively it's been deleted from the game. Like you're never gonna queue into Hangar. You're rarely gonna see it in shops. So, but what I'm sad about is the fact that there is now like a big, um, like blind spot or like a big just hole in the tool and vehicle lines. Like you just don't have a neat like ball blaster just falls off. Like it doesn't now. You have like sure you have the workshop. You can pivot into some other lines, but you don't have a nice tool payoff anymore. Like you don't have that clean. Okay, I found this large item. Now I can keep playing tools for 3 more days. It just doesn't exist now without Hanger. So I am a bit sad about that, but hopefully they can find a way to solve that because that is like, and I think Urmia agrees. Like the biggest frustration with Stella right now is in the late game, right? Like you agree with that?
Yeah,
It
of course. Yeah. If you
it
just
feels
don't, I
very
mean, like,
narrow.
I just concede games, or like, I mean, I think our early game sucks too. Like, I mean, people would disagree, but I think, I think you're okay. It's very weird, and I'm open to just being wrong. Like a lot of people disagree with this take, but your shop RNG, given that your item pool is so small, matters so much more on day one and day two than everyone else. That if you just hit nothing, which is way more common than people think, like you just lose. Like the game is over. Like you're just not able to play out of this position because our late game's so bad. So I think
I do agree,
that
but
makes
I
our
think
early
what
game.
you described there, like the reason you lose if you don't find anything early is because the late game is bad. Like if the late game was good,
Exactly. Yeah.
like on Vanessa for example, if I lose the first 4 days, I'm fine. I can just okay, it's gonna be a boulder game, like it's fine. But on Stell there is no boulder. There is no like unicorn. Like okay, maybe lightning rod, but then you need to get lucky with the enchant. Like there is no like that's what Stell is missing. She's missing
So
this
it's
kind of.
just like
Go
it's
ahead.
sort of old Vanessa, but if you didn't have Keg.
Yeah, it's Vanessa without Keg. Like that's what I've been trying to phrase it as is that Stell just lacks these kind of late game strategies that can save a botched early game. Like you either have to just go
Right,
tempo
right.
king or you're like you're just dead. And the problem now is that if Stell was still the best early game hero in terms of if you get Ball Blaster you cannot lose, like if that was still a true statement, then it would be fine. She would just be the early game tempo aggro hero. The problem is that Vanessa's early game is superior. As soon as Dooley finds his core, if he gets armored core or weaponized core, he is superior. Like Stell is no longer the king of day 2 and 3. Like you're gonna lose to Katana, Wetware, you're gonna lose to armored core Brick Body. Like you know what I mean? Like she's no longer like even if you get the good early game, if you queue into decent boards, you might still lose the early game. So either I think the best way to solve it is to just buff her late game. But if you don't want her to be a late game hero, then at the very least you should buff like Chicken Cannon, make like she needs a way to compete with Wetware. Like that's the main thing. Like Wetware, Armored Core, like Stell just cannot compete with shield scaling right now. I don't think. Like Urmia, do you like it just hard counters your burn? Is my
I mean, yeah,
experience.
unless you're just generally super stronger than them, you're not getting in under the second what cast. This is the experience right now. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. Yeah, it's a little tough. I mean, here's the thing: Balloon Engine's still strong, but because everyone else is so much stronger in the early game, if you didn't get one or two cinders plus a fire skill, Balloon Engine is just dead in the water. Like
yeah,
it is what it is.
that is something I've been talking about on stream. Like the fundamental difference between Balloon Engine and Wetware is that Wetware is strong as long as you have weapons. Like as long as you have the items, it's strong. Even if you have the items with Balloon Engine, at 2 base burn, it's not strong at all. Like if you brick on skills and cinders, the item on its own is not strong. Like it's not just you click Balloon Engine now I win. Like you actually do still rely on a bit of like admittedly it's very likely to get a burn skill. Like statistically you are gonna have burn if you want it, but you can just brick on that. If you go Wetware, it's not as if Vanessa doesn't have weapons. Like you will like it's much easier to get weapons on Vanessa than it is to get cinders on Stell, is how I would try to phrase
Yeah,
it. So that's
yeah,
like the big thing, which is why it is frustrating to play Stell currently, in that even if you high roll, you can still low roll your opponents, and then you lose the late game. Like it's not enough to just get the line. You also need to get easy opponents, and then hopefully you can just go 10-0 or 10-1, right? Like
yeah. Because I
it's
think
very
her strong suit
volatile.
on tempo is the mid game. Actually, I think that's where she
Yeah,
spikes the hardest.
no, I
Like
agree. I
if
think
she has
like
a
they
good early game, like it's definitely an easy mid game if you have a good early game. 100%. Yeah.
I would say that I would say Stell peaks at like day 4 to 6 ish. Like especially if you get like a large on day 6, of course. Like you get Skyliner day 6, you get Swallowtail day 6, you're
Yeah,
fine
game over. Yeah, yeah, game
for
over.
sure.
Hundred
That is
percent.
like when she peaks. But the problem is just that winning day 6 doesn't translate to getting 10 wins. Like it just doesn't do. Like if that was the goal of the Bazaar, then Stell is completely busted. Like no question asked. Like she's the best hero at winning day 6. But then how do you win day 10? How do you win 11?
Yeah,
Um,
I've always found that play pattern is, in my opinion, by far the least fun. With the exception of it can be okay on Dually, specifically for the very obvious reason of, oh hey, Dooley always gets a core.
yeah.
But this is exactly mirroring a play pattern that's been relatively consistently present on Vanessa at various times throughout the game. And every time that's been how Vanessa played, I've just found it frustrating. Like, there are so many really good players like Ragnar, like Raresh, that'll absolutely crush it with those versions of Vanessa. But I've always just found personally that whenever I feel like I'm on a knife's edge where I have to be good enough to win like every single day or the run kind of ends, it's just an exercise in frustration, not
Yep.
because, like, just in the sense that so much of it comes down to shop RNG. Not to
Yep.
say that it isn't inherently skill based, because as I mentioned, players that are objectively better at the game than I am can do it consistently. That is the proof that it can be done. But the issue is that oftentimes that your opponent probably just found good items. They didn't massively outplay you, and that's typically the point at which I get a little bit frustrated where it's like when you have to jump through 1 million hoops to cobble something together that might work, and the opponent just had the good item and they put it on their board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's just I mean, if you're playing a worse deck than your opponent and he draws better than you, the game is
Yeah.
over.
It's like,
Yeah.
I like builds, or I like characters that have ways to mitigate the detrimental effects of shop RNG, be it Stell through her more limited item pool, um, Mac through having his catalysts, Dooley through getting his guaranteed core, or, stuff like Vanessa when she actually has a wide variety of builds that are viable. But it's just not always gonna be the case that that's how it works on Stell, and so if it isn't currently, then yeah, that does sound fairly frustrating.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. I mean, she's still rewarding to play, but yeah, the experience can be a pretty negative one depending on the route. Unfortunately, I mean, I guess that's with
Yeah.
everybody, but yeah, it just feels especially bad on Star right now.
No,
But I
but
mean,
I
that's
think
that's every hero.
Yeah, I think that's such a fair thing to levy, is that don't necessarily take it as you can't win on Stell, or Stell is weak, or you should never lose to Stell. It's a very fair heuristic, especially in a game like this, to just be like, this play pattern is frustrating either inherently or subjectively to me for one reason or another.
Yeah, it's
Some
like playing a
things are
deck in
just, yeah.
Magic or a card game that is designed
Mhm.
to curve out, right? And if you just don't hit curve, then you auto lose. That's exactly how she feels
Yeah.
right now. Like if your
Yeah.
opening hand isn't curve, you've lost the game. Like that's just how she feels right
And
now.
that can still be a strong deck to play if you expect it to curve 7 out of 10
Yeah, if you're
games, and
playing into
it's...
a variance, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
right? If you're just playing into variance, but like those decks are better in a tournament setting, not in like a grinding a ladder setting,
And
unfortunately,
especially,
right? Like
it's still perfectly fine to be like, I understand that this is objectively a strong strategy, but subjectively, I find it unenjoyable to play.
Yeah.
yes.
I should also I'm gonna just post like my stealth stats here, like just for context, because I have been complaining, but like, and this is why I like it is more about the play pattern rather than necessarily being weak. Like overall,
Yeah, yeah.
on Legend, I've had a lot of success with her. Like I haven't had any game go below 7 wins, but that is also because this was during no skill-based matchmaking. Like this is when 80% of my opponents are bronze. Like yes, Stell will perform well against weak opposition, but when you face good boards and you don't win the early game every time, then you're gonna crash out at 5, 6, 7 wins. It's just yeah, it's just a frustrating play pattern experience. Even if overall Stell is like still a strong, good hero. So that's I don't know how to properly like balance that. Like that's the thing. Like she might look properly balanced in the sense that she has strong items. You will lose to Stells, but then playing her is like a different story.
I
You
think
know?
it's one of those things where I believe that both when Stell is too strong and when Stell feels frustrating to play, the answer in both scenarios loops back to this will be fixed when she has more items. Because that's kind of what we see with Vanessa now, is that she can exist in a state where she's considered very, very powerful, but also at the same time by the community at large, at least in the perception that I've seen, isn't necessarily considered to be a problematic character. Um,
Yeah.
obviously some things should still get nerfed, but the reason she isn't outright a problem is because she has enough items that you don't see the same powerful stuff game after game and lose to it every time, which happened when Stell was too good because she had so few items that you could force the good stuff. But at the same time, Vanessa has enough of a quantity of items to be able to reliably ensure that all of these different gaps that you want to be filled in terms of stuff that's good early, stuff that's good mid, stuff that's good late, they can be filled because Vanessa has like 150 items, and many of them have gone through reworks and all that kind of stuff. Imagine how Vanessa would play right now if Zoarcid wasn't even in the game yet.
Yeah.
That would be
No.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it I would expect that the frustration that you're explaining of like where is Stell's powder keg, boulder, anchor, late game pivot stuff. I mean, I don't think it's a massive you don't need to pay me out for getting this bet correctly, but something tells me we might see more drone late game payoffs in future expansion packs or further destroy synergy items. Like, it's not really a secret in any way that, yeah, there are clearly gaps in Stell's kit that will be filled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's, I
Yeah, I can
think,
see that.
maybe enough stealth talk. Do we
Mhm.
want to cover anything? I can just like, I've been interacting with other top players who've been playing other heroes. I think Dooley, a lot of people consider Dooley to be the second strongest hero right now. That might not be true, but that is like the general community vibe that Dooley is also in a good place. Um,
It makes
and
sense, right? And like
Yeah, he seems
again,
pretty strong.
many things have gotten nerfed. Dooley has cores, so if the average power level is lower, it also benefits Dooley.
yeah, and also his like the way you played Dooley last patch is that dinosaurs were really, really strong, but you couldn't
Mhm.
force dinosaurs necessarily. Dinosaurs weren't nerfed at all, like they were unchanged. On the other hand, Dooley got like 5 or 6 different lines buffed, so you still have your best build, which like you still have dinosaurs, but now you have like redundancy, and I think that helps a lot. Like when you have a build like dinosaurs that can just win, like it's borderline just if you get dinosaurs early, you will just get 10 wins every time. Like that is
Yeah, if you hit
almost
a
how
Trollosaur,
it's.
Diana, day 2, day 3, the game's just over, right? Like you
Yeah,
just
Which
won.
exactly. Go
especially
ahead.
makes sense because it's a little bit right. Like Dinosaur is almost on equal ground to Julian now, since they're both
Yeah,
silver starting medium non-weapons.
it's like Julian, except that you have 3 Julians and they all have synergy with each other. Like you have a large Julian, and if you have the medium Julian, then the large one gets
Oh yeah,
better.
no,
Like
I meant
it's
mainly in the sense that before you ran the risk of that the Vanessa Julian had
oh
started like several days before you got to start off your own Julian as
right.
the dually player, but now Vanessa can't even get her equivalent sooner than you can get your equivalent. So when you're on quote unquote even grounds, then I think the Dinosaur line is probably a lot more powerful than Julian due to how good it is when you spike it versus like a million days later.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I've never played Dooley, so I can't just speak too much to him. I just speaking off what I've seen, he just seems very
Mhm.
strong. He seems very fair as well.
I
Yeah.
agree. I don't think like I think dinosaurs can be a bit BS, but the devs have actually like semi-soft confirmed that there might be some slight changes to dinosaurs in the future. We'll see what happens, but they are like aware of that dinosaurs are like doing a lot of things currently. And then Mac, the weird thing about Mac is that the rank 1 player right now is playing Mac, and people
No,
like
he's no longer
Classy.
rank 1.
Okay, then that's outdated. But he was rank 1 for he like held the
Yeah, he was. He's
title.
quite good. Yeah,
Who
yeah,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
and
who
then
was holding rank one?
It was a Chinese player, if I recall correctly, right? The Mac Chinese
correct,
player.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, a
Oh,
Chinese
yeah,
Mac
yeah,
player.
okay, I've heard of him. Yeah.
So pretty much the like when the patch dropped, the idea was that because enchanted items no longer sell for extra gold, that is a massive nerf to Mac. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of like doomerism about Mac being poor and he's the worst hero now. But then the Chinese found out a bunch, like they just played a lot of Mac and found a bunch of cool lines like that are different from how we played Mac last season. And then Kalasi, who is like one of the best Mac players, actually like studied that Chinese playbook for this season, integrated that to his own playing pattern, and now he
Right.
has like is win streaking like on Mac again. So I think Mac looks
Mm.
like if I when I talk to Classy, he said that Mac might secretly be the best hero, but he's very hard to play. Like this is the classic Mac dilemma, right? Like
Yeah.
in theory, Mac might always be the best hero, but in practice, that's a different story. So I think Mac at least has the potential to like clearly he is a hero capable of getting rank 1. Like we can say that like clearly he has the potential,
Yes, quite strong. Yeah.
but maybe the average Mac player will not experience that like that's probably Mac right now could use some economy buffs, because it is frustrating to feel like you are constantly poor. Like that's just not fun. Like when you, even though you are maybe strong, feeling like you can never re-roll, feeling like you can never pivot out of your initial line, that's just not fun, right? Like it's not fun. So that's Mac. And then Pig is clear. Like Pig is, and they have kind of also told us this, that Pig isn't doing too hot right now. So we can safely assume that Pig might be
Okay.
in need of a bit more.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would love to talk about Pig.
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
haven't played Pig since closed beta. I need to know how this guy is bad. Is it just simply a consequence of items not playing well together, therefore your early mid game are bad and you just die, and those that do survive to the late game just auto win? Is that really just
Yes,
what's happening? Is
it's
it that simple?
it's
Like,
basically that.
Yes.
okay, because he seems broken every time he shits on my forehead. So
the
like,
big so we've had Goosefather on the podcast before, who put it the most eloquent way, in that the thing about Pygmalion is that the more unbeatable he seems when you play against him, the worse you know that he actually is. Because what happens is, if Pygmalion has no viable early lines, it both drives away the non-Pig only players, so much fewer players are playing Pygmalion now, but it also means that the people who really know how to break the late game, and also know that the only way I'll win is if I do something broken late, because I cannot win early, then they start to plan their strategy around this from almost day one. Which means that it's kind of like when the Quest Mac stuff was really strong. So it's not just the fact that the only builds that make it to late are the ones that hit. It's also the fact that many of the games people know early already that you should just aim for the late game build from the get-go. And I don't think that's necessarily like entirely truthful. If we had Walter here, I'm sure he would tell us that squares are probably still quite good, but he's a very like high proficiency square pig player, whereas the big thing is that squares has this awkward dilemma of being both something that's more complicated to play now than in the past, but also something that generally tends to be unpopular with the most specialized pig players, because it's the least like the reason that they typically play pig in the first place. So even if it is
yeah,
good,
it's linear, it's boring.
yeah,
Like,
they're probably not going for it. So
that
yeah,
makes sense.
it's very much that. It's the fact that less dedicated players are driven off the character, more dedicated players are aiming for more late game builds out of the gate, and he's also weak enough that the people who don't hit just die, so you won't even see them. And when all of those three are ever true at the same time, it usually means that A, Pygmalion is in a very bad state, and B, Pygmalion will seem like an absolute monster whenever you face him as a non-Pygmalion player.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just like Sixten and me. I mean, especially like last patch is just, you could honestly, I'm pretty sure if we pulled up the sheet, I'd have to find mine, but like I'm almost certain 90%, maybe 95+% of my games are ended by Pygmalion. Like,
Yeah.
No, that's correct.
No, for
But
sure.
to be fair, like last patch he had Monet, like Monet who was actually just broken. Like it actually
yeah,
was like
yeah,
the
it
highest.
was, it was just
And ten,
broken.
like the sleeper broken item was tens. Like tens
Yeah.
was actually the highest win rate item in the game. Not just because of survival. Like it was like in different categories of win rate. Like tens was the top. So it was like
Yeah.
no matter how you like twisted and turned it, like tens was just insane. And no one was like complaining about, like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't even like people complain about monetary, but tens was arguably even stronger. So those were obviously tuned a bit. So I think last patch Pig was actually just completely broken. Like even though he was
Well,
like
but it was one of those again where like the
Go on.
people who actually consistently play Pig did note that it's still not a line that you could get off nearly as consistently
yeah, he
as you
like
actually
I
want
think a hero
to.
can be broken without being optimal for climbing legend. Like that can like both stages
Yeah, I
can be
guess it
true. Like
just
it can be
depends like
Go ahead.
what you mean by it. But I think in that
Fair,
case,
yeah.
like one would make the argument that if you cherry pick the times that you hit a build that's effectively Exodia, then Vanessa is also incredibly broken, right?
Speaking of which, as a lifelong Yu-Gi-Oh fan, I love that Exodia is just this like
Yes.
overall like gamer
Just a
term now. Like in anything,
ubiquitous term
yeah,
for
yeah.
no, it's
Like
really
if
fun.
you've got the board, if you're like full power, like everything's just Exodia. I love that that's a thing now. Like
No,
Yeah,
for
but what I
sure.
will say about Pig is that I hope they keep trying to, because right now it's what Pig's problem is that his ceiling is just out of this world. He has no ceiling. Pig doesn't have. Every other hero has like some kind of soft cap on their like there is like the best in slot Stell Swallowtail board that is like like it's really strong, but there's like a soft cap. There's a soft cap on how much health you can have on Stell. There is a soft cap on how much damage your Skyliner can deal. Pig doesn't really like his soft cap is a bit bigger now than it was before the nerfs to
That's a
VIP pass, but
very,
still
very nice little fixer-upper you've sent.
no, go ahead, Sixten. I was just sending. I wanted to
okay.
show
My
something on
my issue
stream.
with
Yeah,
Pig is that he creates non-games in the late game where when you are the other player, like you're facing a Pygmalion, it literally doesn't matter what you are playing at some point. Like unless you have Powder Keg with like Exodia on Vanessa, for the other heroes, it just matters what he is playing. Does he have um the 2-second item that deals 5 million damage to you with the Diamond Gramophone
Yeah, but I don't
and the
I don't
50k
think
health?
I think it's a little bit of anti-pig bias because I do think that exists on every character. Like it's historically for me, more often than not, it's never been Pygmalion that I'm the most concerned about facing.
but the problem with Pygmalion is that it's an unfun type of archetype, like for his cap boards to play into. Or like, have you ever played Magic the Gathering?
Yeah.
Okay, so like no one likes to play against Esper control. Like no one. Like no one on this earth likes to play against Esper control. Like it's just not fun. It's not a fun experience. Like, and that's just kind of how Pig is. Like his best boards, you're just never happy to see Pig in the late game. Like his best board is always your doom and unfun to play against. Like
I don't know. I haven't personally felt that to be the case because I think the thing that's true is that historically what Pig does is things that when you're not in this extremely warped scenario, his outputs tend to be relatively predictable, which means that if you are someone who likes playing high disruption builds, if you're someone who likes playing builds with percentage based damage scaling, if you're someone who likes playing builds that scale in very certain ways, I would oftentimes find that for me, Pygmalion was the consistent output that I knew that I could almost always beat and therefore was very happy to face. Whereas on the other hand, Vanessa has historically been the character that I'm the least happy to face because she tended to be either just, oh, this is someone who went for tempo early and then didn't find a transition and then didn't transition at all and it's just a free win, or it's you go infinite at second zero and I'm just dead. And to me, that's way more frustrating than anything I've ever ran into from a Pygmalion. But
yeah,
that's obviously
interesting.
personal preference.
Yeah, I think it might come down to which heroes you gravitate towards as well,
Yeah.
because I think Pig, like the heroes I've always been playing are Dooley and Stell, and Dooley and Stell,
Yes.
like both,
Yes.
just don't have ways to necessarily
Yeah, no,
counter Pig.
that's exactly what I meant when I said that it's a bit of anti-pig bias. Not in the sense that I think you're wrong to be biased against pig. I just wanted to point out that it is likely that
Yeah, I
character
think you're right.
selection is
100%. I'm speaking from a place of bias.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And I do want to add. Because it's important to note. Like we'll meme about, when I say we, I mean like Stealth players or like just players in
Yeah.
general who like to meme on Pig, right? Because it is not an uncommon take to hate
We
Pig,
definitely
right? That's
do
not
it
a
on
unique
on the
thing. That's
pod
not
too.
unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but like pig players do deserve to enjoy the game, right? And they do deserve to have a viable character. So I hope like I don't know how they. I'm glad I'm not on a balancing team, because that's a hard job. But
No,
that
I
needs to
think
be fixed in one
The
way or
way I would
another, and I
phrase
don't
it
know how they
is
do it.
buff pigs early game, and then you remove like two zeros from that, like the thing on the board, right? Like the
no,
thing
so
on the
it's just
screen.
like the
Just
reason why it's a bit complicated is entirely just because Pygmalion requires more sweeping changes, and more sweeping changes require more man hours, and they have a lot of new content that they want to develop. So you're stuck in this, well, outright dilemma of if we focus our attention towards pig, that's going to be a change that will affect relatively few players because not so many people play Pygmalion. Whereas if we focus that attention towards developing new content, that's something that maybe most of, if not the entire player base, will enjoy. So I think they will definitely keep working on Pygmalion. I have no doubt about that. But it's one of those things where it's probably hard for them to make it go faster in any way.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, I
yeah,
think the move, and we discussed that on the pod before, like the move to making more of his items quests instead, so they have a
Mm.
cap, like capping Regal Blade, capping Dog. Like it just, if more and more of his meta scaling items have a ceiling, that is really healthy. Like
And I
just
think
making sure.
the like
Go on.
tuning of enchanted items like really helps a lot too, because I at least I've
Yes.
personally found that the most like volatile in a frustrating way builds that Pygmalion has had have been whenever it's, one of those that's the
Yeah.
be all end all most popular
yeah.
build.
And speaking of Pygmalion boards, the Igloo board with the new cold room, right? Like that's seeing a lot more play, and it is quite
Yeah.
strong. Like it is a
Is the
very
only
very
issue
good
with
build.
it is that it can sometimes be hard to get into it, but
Yeah.
once you are in it, it's actually like it is arguably too strong. Like I would rather it be easier to play it, but that it doesn't just like
Yeah.
it's just not fun when boards that stun lock you are strong. Like I think we can all agree that
Yeah,
we
you're
don't
right.
want
Yeah, of course.
permafreeze to be a common thing. Like it should be a rare late game thing you can face and it's like cool. It shouldn't be like a common day 7 experience, in my opinion. Like that is the reason we nerfed like Bagadooli used to do that and it was nerfed. Port Vanessa used to do that, it was nerfed. Mac used to like every time permafreeze is ever like prevalent in the mid game, people hate it. Like it's just how it is. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if the biggest build is actually overperforming. People just hate not being able to play the game. Like
But I
that's the
think
one thing.
that's again probably one of those things where the best solution is just the fact that all we really need is for Pig to have more lines that are viable, then people will not so hard try to
Yeah,
like. This again, if you don't have anything else to go for, you might as well try to force freeze, even though it's difficult to reliably get into. Because if you don't hit while you're in the same spot, you're gonna have to make something broken happen late. But if you do hit, then you've actually given yourself an alternate line to play. Like, I
Yeah,
think if Stell's early mid game stuff, like if Stell couldn't spike on day 5, 6 at all, then you'd probably see way more people try to do like lightning
Rod.
rod 4 strats and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
If you that's the thing. Like I think if you nerf Stealth early game, you're gonna nerf Rod. Like it's gonna get nerfed. Like if you nerf her early game, then all you will see is Rod games, and then
Yeah,
people
yeah.
will complain about Rod is OP. Like that's what's gonna happen. So I
yeah,
I
it's
agree with
true.
that.
Yeah,
No,
I think
for
So
that's great.
sure.
are we ready to move into like the topic of the
Yeah,
week
we
now?
can do topic of the week for a bit. This will probably be a little bit of a shorter one, but we just
Yeah.
thought that it's a discussion that's been here since day one of Bazaar. But given things that have happened recently, it's a good time to just reiterate on the topic a little bit.
Yeah.
We wanted to talk about skill-based matchmaking versus what we currently have, especially because I do think it is something that definitely has pros and cons. But Sixten, you brought up wanting to do the topic, so you could say your piece first.
Right. So this is topic I have flip-flopped on a lot. Like I've been in favor of it. I've been strongly opposed to it. I think ultimately having a system where we get to experience both would be ideal. Like you can opt in or opt out. Right now, there is already skill-based matchmaking from bronze to diamond. Like it already, especially at bronze. Like at bronze, you only face other bronze players, right? So there is already skill-based matchmaking for new players. Okay, which means that you will face people who are in the same rank as you. Like the same rank bracket, you're not gonna face legend players, and that's cool. That makes it a lot more fun for new players to learn the game. You don't have to get stomped by the best people with the 1k hours in the Bazaar. But what a lot of people at Legend, right? Like I think most people at Legend right now are actually in favor of skill-based matchmaking. At least the people who reach Legend early. Like if you are the kind of person who plays this game competitively to try and win, you want to try and prove that you're the best player at the Bazaar. You try to get to Legend ASAP. You want to get rank 1. Something that is very frustrating with the current system is that you climb to rank 5, then you go to sleep, you go to bed, you wake up, now you're rank 30. Why? Because it's just the grind. Like it's you whoever just plays more will be rank 1 if everyone is capable of, win streaking forever, which means that it doesn't feel as satisfying to actually try and get to rank 1 because it's less about, oh, I am the best player, I have found the most success. It's just, okay, I am the person who happened to get the biggest win streak and I sleep 3 hours per day. Like it incentivizes like unhealthy or slash frustrating ways to grind. And the other thing is that people also find it difficult to discuss what is strong. So at Legend, for example, the meta might be very different, like in terms of like what is the best hero to get a lot of 10 wins on, might be different compared to what bronze players are complaining about. So there is like a disconnect there. Whereas if we had skill-based matchmaking at Legend, then it would be much easier for Legend players to say like, okay, here in Legend, these heroes are what you find success with, which you can clearly see here by these stats. And then at bronze, there is like a different meta. And that way you can maybe sort of make both groups happy. Like the bronze players have their meta and the legend players have their meta. And there isn't like this current confusion where you see legend players complain about X hero and you see bronze players complain about Y hero. And then there is like, okay, but we're playing the same game. If people knew that at Legend, no, it's a slightly different game, then that would be fine, I think. And then finally, I think it is also just fun. Like an experience that a lot of people enjoyed was seeing other recognizable names. Like when you climb to Legend early, you would face other famous streamers. You would face people you have interacted with in the Discord. You would face these people who you have like you recognize them, and that's just a cool experience. Like feeling like, oh shit, I'm up against this other great player that I know of. Let's see who actually can win here. Like it is actually a bit fun to have that kind of experience. So those are like all the arguments in favor of it. But then there are a ton of arguments against it, and I think Metal is probably the best person here to lay those out because you are, and like you're just very knowledgeable about this. So tell us about like what the potential cons of this could be.
Yeah, so I think the biggest issue, and it kind of ties into a lot of what we spoke about earlier on the podcast in terms of things like shop RNG. One issue with the Bazaar is that it's kind of fundamentally designed around the expectation that most people will probably face off against boards that are on the weaker end. And this doesn't mean that there is no way that we can, in a healthy way, have more high skill, like venues for high skill competition in the Bazaar. But it does mean that if you look at the game from a perspective of, I just want to play the standard game mode, and it does matter what the standard game mode is, because regardless of what it is, it'll have the most thriving like queues which matters. Like, there can be a point where if few enough people play something, even if it is asynchronous, you may start seeing repeat matchups of Ghost or a much smaller pool that it's pulling from. And in
Yes.
addition to that, the primary balancing resources will get put towards the primary game mode. That's just what makes sense when you have limited resources. So what happens is, if what you expect to play most of the time is the game mode that has skill-based matchmaking, it will warp the game towards two things that I think are, for me, the primary concerns. One is that we will return to early shop RNG being disproportionately impactful, due to the fact that even though there are players way better than me, as I mentioned earlier, if I pick Stell, for example, and I hit just the right items that I need, I'm gonna beat them regardless of their skill. And I've always found this was kind of one of the big reasons why many advocated against the enchanted item starts, that it can be frustrating when what you lose to on day one is out of your control, whereas when what you're facing on the day one is an average output rather than a top player, a lot of the time you can have made decisions that were sufficient to make you win instead of lose, even if you didn't have the picture perfect optimal shop RNG. And then the other thing, I guess there are two more things now that I think about it, but the second thing is the fact that I bring this up a lot on the podcast. To me, the least fun that the game ever was when there was a meta where Square Pig with bees became the meta strat. And because this was still in beta, at that point in time, there were actually so few people playing on the ladder that this strategy ended up, over the course of several days, being something that you would actually face in, I would say, like 60 to 80% of your rounds. You just queue into Square Pig with bees, and at the time I was trying to play Vanessa, and it just meant that it was the roll of the dice. Did you face the Square Pig with bees? If so, you've died because you're playing Vanessa into a Caltrops board, effectively. And if you don't, then you get to play the game. And I think this type of convergence towards a meta strategy will always be exaggerated in a system where people are being honed against each other very directly. And it's not even always to say that what people end up converging on will be the objectively strongest strategy, but they will converge on a strategy that is the generally accepted meta. And it's not fun to face the same build over and over. That's the number one thing for me, is that the Bazaar is built on the premise of variety, and it's not even that I feel like I'm limited in what I can play, when what I play against is the same output game after game after game. It just removes a big part of what makes the Bazaar the Bazaar.
Uh, Go
Yeah.
on.
And
I
there
can.
was one last thing that I was going to mention, but it slipped my mind again, so I will
Okay, I
bring
can
it
just
up if I
add.
can think of
So
it.
during this 2-day window where we had this experience with Legend, which I did at the time find it miserable on Stell, was the fact that, as you said, like it was like the crook bees. 80% of my opponents were Vanessas with wet wares and katanas and silver knee braces. And that meant that one of the best ways to play Stell is to play Ball Blaster. Like Ball Blaster right now on ladder is very successful. It's a strong item into decent boards, but it's not a strong item when your opponent has knee brace, they have wetware, and they have katana. Like it's actually terrible into that. Like you're just gonna lose. You're too slow. You cannot beat those. So that meant that I quickly learned I literally cannot play Ball Blaster anymore. Like I cannot actually win the game if I go for tools. I have to high roll Balloon Engine or else. Like that's quickly what happened just from like a day of playing with skill-based matchmaking, right? Like just in a day, an entire build just collapsed. So my options on stealth became even narrower. So I just had to try and force balloon engine every time. And that is just not fun for me. Like when you are facing 60% the same hero and they're playing aggro, and that means that some of your builds just like if 60% of ladder is aggro, that will naturally push out some builds. Like if aggro is everything you face, then yeah, you should play balloon engine control because that's the only, like you need tethers to actually be able to survive. And that just makes it so that now I'm just trying to force tethers every game. Like, okay, tethers, balloon engine, that's the only way I can beat the rarish Vanessa ghosts. And then what happens is I put out all of these super strong tethers ghosts on ladder, right? And then the Mac player or whatever, not the Mac player, but like the dual player queues into my tethers and he's playing Ignition Core. Now he goes, oh shit, I can't play Ignition Core because I keep queuing into Wetware and tethers. So now he just goes to playing Armored Core to counter the Vanessa. So now every dual player is playing Armored Core, every Stell is playing tethers, and every Vanessa is playing aggro. So you have 3 viable builds on ladder because those 3 builds are really strong and they suffocate everything else. And then that just becomes so stale, right? Like that almost happened in just 2 days. Just 2 days of skill-based matchmaking, and we have 1 build per hero that you see. And just imagine if that is like, okay, we have 3 weeks between patches. So now the meta gets figured out in 3 days, and then it's 4 weeks straight of just queuing into Armored Core Dually, Aggro Vanessa, Balloon Engine Stell, and Boiling Flask Mac. Like that's what it's gonna be like at Legend. And I think people will just quit the game. Like they would just quit the game after the millionth time they queue into Silver Knee Brace on day 2. Like it's just, okay, I've had enough, like the camel's back has been broken. This is not fun. This is boring. And then people will like ask for more frequent balance changes. They will ask for nerfs. And so this is my thing. This is why I think it's better to have this be like a separate game mode. Make this like a tournament mode that you can opt into, but don't make this default experience. I don't know. So Urmia, what is your like take on all of
It's
this?
a hard subject to broach, right? Because like Phoenix had pointed out, like your player pool is inherently limited with this type of approach at each band, right? And that's good. That's by design, but it also creates for these weird game states for most players. The solution, I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't want to be too harsh, but this game is. I mean, I come from a pretty competitive gaming background. I played like Counter Strike. I played a bunch of different like really competitive games, like and card games in general. Like this doesn't feel like a competitive game, with all respect, right? So it's like I don't think making skill based matchmaking a priority is correct. Frankly, like I don't think it matters just much at this point. I think focusing on the game's growth is better served by not introducing skill based matchmaking at Legend Plus. I think at Legend Plus, just grind a ladder if you like. I think fixing the MMR system is a much bigger priority than fixing what type of ghost you're versing. Like they might come hand in
I
hand,
agree.
but I don't think they're necessarily tied to each other. Like I don't think they're
That's a
mutually
great point
exclusive.
you bring up, and this is the thing as well. I think that if like the people who are vocal about this are like the 0.0001%. Like it's the top 50 legend players, and they are like such a small minority that if you cater the entire like fabric of the game to those, you will just kill the game because 90% of people who play Bazaar play it because they want a fun auto battler where they get to do cool stuff. Like that's what they want. They want to win games and they want to do cool stuff. They don't want to have spreadsheets where they calculate their MMR and they have to have a PhD in, is it correct to upgrade this knee brace on day 4? Like that's not the average Bazaar player, okay? So making that the like like making the game cater more towards the hyper competitive crowd, I think would be bad from like a financial standpoint. Like you would actually, because that's the thing. Like skill based matchmaking means that the more you win, the less you win. Like, or rather, you will always have a 50% win rate. Like that's another thing. Like right now in the Bazaar, the experience is that the better I get, the more I win, and that's like super satisfying from like a dopamine standpoint. Like for most players, feeling like, oh, I'm improving at the game, I win more now. Like, that's fun. I can
Yeah,
win with
winning's
this
fun.
cool item. It's fun, right? Like
Yeah.
you can show off to your friends, I won with this crazy item in the Bazaar, you would never be able to win with that crazy item in skill-based matchmaking. No, you wouldn't be able to express yourself creatively in the same way, because as you improve, your opposition improves, and that just means that it's like, sure, you can show off your rank, I guess, but you won't have those cool 10-win board screens anymore. Like, you will just, oh, you're playing aggro Vanessa, you're playing aggro Stell, like that's what your boards are gonna look like if you're a top legend player. And I just don't think that is like Reynard's intention for this game, to be this teamfight tactics clone about, okay, I need to go to Google and look up these different meta builds and how to, you know what I mean? Like, that's not what this game was meant to be. So
But
I
Yeah.
think it goes against.
I
Go
will
ahead.
say a valid counterpoint, because I am firmly against skill-based matchmaking in the default game mode. This has been established. However, I will say I agree with Urmia's take that currently the game isn't very competitive, and I do think that that can be an issue for two reasons. One is that, as we have established, there are still very many players who gravitate towards this competitive experience. And I think it is worth noting that by offering more valid outlets for that urge, you open up the game to a potentially whole new player base that might otherwise be turned away by the somewhat casual nature of it. It exists in a weird equilibrium where it definitely isn't a casual game, but it isn't really a competitive game either. But if there were things that you could compete for that felt like they were meaningful, I think that drives a lot of fire in a lot of players. And it also feeds into the fact that right now, the good thing is, as Sixten said, you feel like you get to continuously improve the more that you play. But the downside is that if the game then eventually becomes too easy, this kind of cuts off. Because there's a point where, let's say you're winning 8 out of 10 games, or 7 out of 10 games. It takes a lot of improvement to make that 7 into an 8 or that 8 into a 9, and no matter what you do, you can never really make it to 10 out of 10 because it's a game that has too much variance for that to even be possible.
Yeah.
So you kind of hit this ceiling where you stagnate. You can't meaningfully improve anymore. And I think that's the frustration that so many top players are faced with, where it feels like I want to get even better at this game that I'm super invested in, and I just don't have a meaningful way of doing that, which is why I completely agree that it would make a big difference to offer some kind of mode. And I think the most obvious thing that I know people have been saying this since the day that the beta launched, but the possibility of organizing tournament lobbies where you can play against other players of an extremely high skill level seems like the obvious choice for how we can have the core experience of the game be what people expect it to be and what it kind of feels like the game was designed to be. But at the same time, we can still have meaningful outlets for people who want to compete at a high level, and even for people who aren't necessarily at a high level but want to occasionally meaningfully compete. I would say that I very much fall in that category where if there feels like there's no competition, I don't get that interested. But if it feels like everything is extremely cutthroat competition, then I can oftentimes feel like, between a day job and having other hobbies and interests, I might not have enough time to invest myself at the level that would be demanded by competition that fierce. So having one of those in-between options where it's like, even if you're not the best player in the game, you can still feel like you're competing for something that matters, I think would do a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah, a tournament lobby system would be great. That is a core, like other games have this, like Hearthstone Battlegrounds has that kind, like that's just the fabric of how that game mode works in Hearthstone, and a bunch of others, like just that kind of system. And then you have like last man standing, so it basically, in like, even if, how should I phrase it, like it would be that you will be like, if you are the best player in that lobby, you will be the last one to be alive. Like that's how it would actually play in practice, which is very satisfying, right? Like you actually
Yeah.
just stand on this pile of bodies essentially at the end, which is really, like, that's just from a, like, that as a game mode that is like different from ladder. I think it's really really cool. Like it will be memorable. It will be very hard, like it will push you to the like limit. But having that be like the default game mode, I just, I think that would be a mistake. Having it be this other game mode that you can, like, basically tournament mode would be sort of like, I think Hearthstone had this as well, but like it's a lot of card games have like their ladder, and then they have something else where you like have to pay for a ticket or something, and it's like much more competitive. Like it's high stakes where you, the more you win, the more rewards you get. Like Hearthstone has like arena or heroic, whatever it's called. Like Hearthstone has like this kind of stuff. Other card games have this as well, where it's like high, like there are like stakes in the
Well, I think
setting.
the big thing
Go on.
is it's not about the stakes necessarily, and I think the thing that matters is that it's the kind of thing where an average player who isn't in the very, very top percentile will burn out if they have to do it excessively. But
Yeah,
in controlled doses, where you get to decide how often or to what degree you want to opt in. Like, are you
yeah,
playing in the. We can draw a parallel to Magic the Gathering. There's a massive difference between the player who mostly plays friendlies with his mates at his own house, but then occasionally goes to a local community tournament to face some tougher competition because it's fun to test your deck and your skills and your strategy against players that you know are very good, or a player who's aiming to compete at the nationals and playing on every pro tour. Um, but the important thing is that both these theoretical players got to decide how seriously they wanted to play it, whereas it's very possible that if the only options given were you're unable to play Magic outside of Pro Tours, then there wouldn't be much of a casual audience.
Yeah,
exactly.
no, I agree. I agree. That's why I think the simplest solution is be like we can split the game modes again, but that's what ranked was essentially supposed to be, right? And the monetization switch is what really has
Mm-hmm.
caused this
Yeah,
like people are just only playing ranked, right? Because there's no risk, right?
Yeah,
Like you're
yeah.
not paying for a ticket or whatever. So there's that. That's what separated the player base previously in terms of like competitive desire. And now
I
if you're
will
just
just
going to have it
say,
free, then competitive players are going to be incentivized by climbing a ladder, right? And given
Yeah,
that the MMR system is just not good, I think fixing that just solves the problem. Like,
yeah. That's
I will just say
fair.
they actually gave a good reason why it's really important, because people were like, just split the game modes, but actually there is a psychological reason why it's important to have a normal mode, because there are actually a subgroup of players who feel like pressure or anxiety when they, like, even if it's like there is like no money involved or anything, like just clicking ranked, like just the idea of it's like ranked, there are like, it's ranked, like some people just don't like when they go to a video game, they always want to play unranked, like in other games as well. Like there's just this subgroup of people who don't want that kind of pressure when they play a game. Like they want, even if they like play to win and they want to like be good at the game, they just don't want any like, I don't know how to phrase, like
I
just
know
a
that
more casual environment.
yeah, Toby made the point once that part of the benefit of having a ranked casual split is that the just psychological nature of it's just asking you as a player, are you a ranked player or a casual player? It creates kind of a psychological self-sorting matchmaking system that,
Yeah,
in terms of resources invested, the fact that you just need to make two buttons and then people's brains do the sorting themselves means that the result that you get for putting basically no resources into it is actually very meaningful. Compared to better systems would most likely require a lot of dev time. And I'm definitely hoping we get better systems eventually, but for the time being, just letting people self-sort, I'm sure that helps.
Yeah, because I am like on the opposite spectrum of this psychological thing where I cannot take normal mode seriously. Like
Yeah.
if I queue normal mode,
Yeah,
I
same.
cannot
I
make
need number
myself
go up.
care.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
cannot care. So like this is the thing, like a lot of people who are in favor of SPMM is like if you want to play fun builds and succeed, just play normal mode. But like no, I want to try and play perfectly. I want to play well, but I also want to try and be creative and like win with like no, just
Yeah.
force the same thing or like I
No,
want to.
I
Do you know what I
completely
mean? Like
agree. Yeah, and
I'm
it's
not a
such a
casual player at
like
all, right?
it's
Like
such a weird thing to describe because for the very best players, they don't necessarily understand, which makes sense. Like it's always
yeah,
easiest to understand our own perspective, but to them it's like, well, why would you compete if not to be the best? But it turns out that there is this large, it's kind of like the middle class of competitive games where
yeah,
you're a person that has a competitive nature, but you're lacking in some other resource, be it time or skill. So you want to feel like you're competing, but you don't feel like, I don't feel like I can go become the best at League of Legends because I have permanent wrist injuries. Like if I tried
yeah,
to, I would become handicapped for the rest of my life. It's just not possible. But when I played the game, I still wanted to compete, so obviously I played in ranked. But and I think it's that like group for whom it is very important to feel like you have a game mode that's in quotation marks competitive, where at least like it's ranked, like we are competing for something, even if it's not that difficult or that important. Without that meaning that we have to play this extremely cutthroat system that, specifically in the case of the Bazaar, makes it difficult to play the game in the way that we enjoy. Because I played tons of other card games and even auto battlers and MOBAs and shooters, and in basically all of them I compete in the ranked systems that have skill-based matchmaking and enjoy it. But it is very much about understanding that the Bazaar, due to the nature of the game being almost like a pseudo roguelike or taking a lot of
yeah,
inspirations from genres that aren't just strictly competitive card games, end up having very different outcomes. I did actually remember what the other thing that I was going to bring up earlier was. Two things. One is just a shout out to Goosefather because he always mentions this, and I do think it is worth bringing up, even if it isn't a top priority for me personally. But having the game be fundamentally almost a completely different game at Legend versus for the rest of the player base matters a lot for people who want to be educational streamers. If like so in League of Legends, for example, if you get to Challenger, that's a whole different ballpark. But if you're just playing the game in gold or silver, you still have a relatively average experience towards the rest of the player base, even up into platinum and arguably diamond. Like, I'm not gonna get into the semantics of League of Legends ranks. The point is that for the vast majority of the player base, the game functions very similarly. But any streamer in the Bazaar will probably end up in Legend, assuming that they play the game a fair bit. And if you're an educational content creator who then ends up in Diamond in Legend, be it, yeah, like you're gonna play a very different game from your viewers potentially. But I won't linger too much on that one. That was the main one I was gonna bring up. The other one is, and I know we've talked about this a lot, Sixten, the Bazaar is designed around always having early, mid, and late parts of your run. And
yeah. Oh, that's a
I
great. Yeah, I know what
think,
you're gonna say.
yeah, it
Yeah.
can even be frustrating if something is so consistent that I always just win 10-0. That's not very fun. But by far the most frustrating runs of the Bazaar to me are the ones where you die on day 6, day 7, day 8, and you never even got that chance to make a comeback. And we've talked about how Bazaar has a very unique axis of time, which doesn't really exist in other card games. If I play Magic and I lose to red deck wins aggro because they aggroed me, I shuffle my deck, I go next, I go queue against the other guy, or I'm even playing multiple matches in the same set, it's kind of very equivalent. But if I'm only ever facing day 1 through 8 or 9, and I don't even reliably get to day 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, that's entire swaths of the game that I'm just consistently not getting to experience because it's not like an equivalent experience to have a PvP fight on day 14 to having a PvP fight on day 3. They are
Yeah.
fundamentally different, and I would imagine, and I know that you mentioned this, Sixten, that it gets very frustrating if you feel like you are consistently not accessing a part of the game beyond just simple metrics such as being able to say, well, maybe we should get back to considering 7 wins a win in and of itself. It's not just about that, it's about feeling like you don't get to play part of the game.
Yeah, because this is the thing. I think if you ask a lot of people what is the most fun part of the Bazaar, the most common answer would be either the mid game or the late game. Like those will by far be the most popular choices. Like some people prefer the mid game because there's less RNG, whereas some people love the crazy shenanigans of a day 13 board. Like that's gonna be where people like when people think about the Bazaar. When you're a content creator, you make a thumbnail for YouTube. You will take pictures of your late game board. Like that is like the Bazaar in a nutshell. It's the Atarian Ice Clubs. It's the Eye of the Colossus. It's the boulders. You know, that's the Bazaar. Okay, when you have skill-based matchmaking, where everyone buys knee brace on day 1 from Curio, they click every single temp boost, they play to win every single day. Like literally, they try to have the strongest possible board on every day. That means if you don't have the strongest possible board on every day, on average, you will be dead by day 8 or 9. So if you are the kind of player who prefers playing for the late game, you like playing Pygmalion, like you just be honest, you like playing Pygmalion. Like that's the hero that is in a nutshell about surviving to the late game. In skill-based matchmaking, if Pig doesn't have a strong like if his early game isn't on par with the other heroes, he will literally be unviable in like to climb. Like you literally cannot play Pig in this system. You cannot play a hero that peaks in power at day 13 because you will not live to day 13. You will never see that day. And that's just a very frustrating experience where it kind of means that the only viable way to play the Bazaar is to play this hyper tempo, hyper aggro style. And that's not like the most players don't enjoy that. Like they don't come to the Bazaar to play Sulok or like Face Hunter, like use Hearthstone analogies. Like that's not necessarily what they want. Some people gravitate towards playing control. Some people want to make cool combos. Some people just don't want to have to min max every single curio visit. Like not everyone is Walter Cooler. Not every person buys the chariot to value stack their chocolate bars and then they save their chocolate bars for Barcoon and then they buy bronze chocolate bars for what I mean. Like that's not how most people want to play the Bazaar. And skill-based matchmaking would mean that is how you should play the Bazaar. And I just think that it turns it from this cool roguelike deck builder to more of just a mathematical equation of min max, and I
I
just don't think it's a great idea. Like having that be the default game mode is just, I think, a mistake.
I also do
Just
think specifically something that matters a ton in the context of tournament play, and I know that this was brought up a ton in various states of the game, especially when discussing, for example, gold skill versus income or stuff. One of the most frustrating things in the Bazaar can be the fact that when you lose day 1 to the guy who played skill start, that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get to win day 12 because now you're going up against a guy who's had 100 less gold than you throughout the run. It was way less, but like 20, 30 less gold, whatever. Because you might still just go up against the Pygmalion who started income, even though you didn't get the benefit of facing him in the early days. And I think that's the thing that makes such a difference when we're talking about this exact same dynamic, but in a lobby setting. If I deliberately go for a strategy that is better late and I lose early, but I know that the player that I lost early against will have to face me late, then it's a very different uh, type of dynamic where there's a real trade off for both of us. Whereas in the Bazaar, you know that there's always the roll of the die that means you can face a weak player late even though you played for being strong early, just due to the raw matchup variance. That tends to very excessively favor playing those strategies that are strong in the early game if you are in a scenario where, given the current matchmaking system, you have to maximize your expected gains. So I think, yeah, that factors into
Yeah,
it.
and also I will just add that we talk sometimes about survivorship bias in ladder, like that's the reason Pig feels oppressive sometimes. I can tell you right now, in skill-based matchmaking at Legend, survivorship bias doesn't just get quadrupled. It's like survivorship bias on steroids to the moon and back. Like there is, because of this cutthroat nature, any build that is capable of surviving to day 10 is going to be the most busted, broken, Exodia ass obsidian enchant from, you know what I mean? Like it means that in the late game, it's going to be pure, like just pure, the most broken things ever, right? And so like in skill-based matchmaking, every day gets like exponentially harder to win. Like on day one, you like day one will be the easiest day to win in a sense, because
Yeah.
that's when like there are fewer,
Yeah.
like everyone is like every week, like every quote unquote weak ghost is still in the pool. On day 10 there will be no weak ghosts at all. Like there's not going to be any paid actors for you. Like it's just going to be cutthroat, cutthroat, cutthroat. And I think that is also why this would feel so oppressive to play for a long time. Like you're gonna get burnt out if you sit down and you try to grind this for like 8 hours on a stream, and you have people in your chat backseating you. Like it's just, for like being a streamer, it's just gonna be, I think, a horrible experience long term, because it's just like you will have to always be locked in. You can never afford to make a single small mistake. Like if you accidentally
Yeah.
buy the wrong chocolate bars, that can just decide the run right there. If you somehow mess up, you know what I mean? Like you lose, or God forbid you lose a PV fight, that's just game over right there. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes it just way, like the margins for success or like just
Hmm.
defeat are just way slimmer than before. But
But
this was a really fun conversation.
yeah.
Urmia, do you have anything
I
here to add as
before that,
well?
I think the best
Go
way
ahead.
to like summarize it is that we like yapping, right? So we say it with many words, but our point largely boils down to the problem isn't that skill-based matchmaking is a bad system, as exemplified by the fact that we enjoy it in tons of other games. The only true issue is that it's a system which the game wasn't designed to support, and it just makes more sense to design competitive systems that are custom built for the game. They'll be the most fun. But yes, with all that said, Urmia, you
I
can
agree.
absolutely chime in if you have any closing thoughts on skill-based matchmaking.
No, I just it's not something I'm super passionate about, right? Like, so it was just hard for me to like really give, some passionate take. It's just I'm much more concerned with matchmaking being fixed than anything else. And like,
Hmm.
we can conflate the two, we can add them together. It's completely fine. But as someone who does enjoy climbing ladders, like when an
Hmm.
MMR
Hmm.
system just feels bad, then I like, do I really care about how it's solved? Yes. Do I care about splitting the payer base? No. Like, but if you need to do that to make the system better, sure. I'm ignorant to how you solve the problem. Is where I'm at. Like, I just don't know I'm lacking any ideas on how you solve the issue. So
I think that's
yeah,
that's totally reasonable. You've been feeling overall then that you do quite enjoy the current climb. The main issue for your enjoyment, like here and now, if we're not talking future theoreticals, is the fact that it becomes so reliant on streaking and playtime, and that's like the big thing you want to
yes,
get addressed. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that's my main concern as opposed to the player base, right? Like, but I mean, like I can see how they go hand in hand. So again, I just
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You know,
No, I
maybe it's
think that
just smarter
makes a
people
lot
than me
of
will solve it. You know.
makes a lot of sense. It's very funny because I was actually there when Quistre was the one to suggest the current MMR system that they've implemented. And I remember when we were talking about it in Rarish Discord, and I think I made the point that, well, doesn't like after a certain point, this system kind of grinds to a halt. And I think at the time he said something like, yeah, but the amount of games that you have to play to get to that point probably makes it a relatively minor issue. And not give him any shit because the system is way, way, way better than what we had before. It was still a
Agreed.
massive improvement. But
Agreed.
it is very funny that I think we both at the time severely underestimated how hard the grinders will go in the bazaar, which is
I mean, you had people
incredible in the
legend day
end.
one,
Yeah.
right? Like you had, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like,
like in Kush's defense, I don't think he assumed that there would be like 100 plus people who played the game for like 12 hours a day on like the first week of the patch. Like
No,
he
no,
which
just
is great for the game, by
exactly.
the way. Like when you
yeah.
have people that are willing to go that hard in the game, it's a really good
Yeah,
sign. Like
I don't think
I
that
don't like
Yeah.
Kushre
this
made a
doomer
mistake
talk.
there. It's
Like
just that he underestimated how grindy
Yeah.
people are.
No, for
Yeah.
sure. Which is
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
funny.
Yeah, I
Um,
like my concerns are much more with hero balance because I think an
mhm.
M like a matchmaking balance is a I mean hero balance is a tough issue in and of itself, but like game
Yeah,
theory and
yeah.
matchmaking balance like that stuff is a whole different ball game, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
I just it's hard for me
My
to give an answer.
main
Yeah,
concern for this
yeah.
game is it fun to play? Like I think first and
That's
foremost make sure that it's
definitely
fun to
the
play, you
yeah,
know?
the top priority. If the game is
Yeah.
fun, then we'll have time to work everything else out.
Yeah. All right.
Okay,
Well,
yeah.
do you guys have
Um
anything else you want to talk about
I
or
think we'll move along to the board of the
yeah,
week.
sounds good.
Urmia, did you have anything in particular you wanted to showcase? I have a bunch lined up otherwise, so it's totally up to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, I want to show the low roller, the low roller line.
Uh
I genuinely think it's Stell's
yeah,
best
yeah,
board, so
yeah.
I would like people to see that, like
Yeah, you had kind of like a
the lava
example
roller. So
board here, this one.
yeah, this is a fully capped board at Diamond. Ideally, you'd want an obsidian on the big one, but like we just that enchant, we just assume it doesn't exist, right? Like you don't want to operate and
Yeah,
under the
yeah.
like the requirement of obsidian. But the way it works is that Stell's Workshop at Diamond charges a vehicle by 2 seconds when a tool is used. When you have a vehicle, hydrogen tank activates immediately at the start of combat. Flare gun reduces a vehicle's cooldown by 1 second when they're burned. And it's also a tool which effectively charges the lava roller for another 2 seconds. So at start of combat, he gets charged 2 seconds. The flare gun's going off at 2.5 seconds, charged another 2 seconds, and then he explodes. And it doesn't really matter which one he hits because flare gun's next cast is already going, and the hydro tank is already casted its haste. So its second cast of the flare gun is about to land as well, and he gets charged another 2 seconds, and then the other thing explodes and they're dead.
There you go. It's very cool. That is definitely a very like keg feeling combo.
This is really good. And I started having more fun once I realized, like once I was taught the lava roller lines and I started to respect the item. Stell became a lot more wide for me, and she feels very fun. My biggest, yeah, I mean, like this item is real, folks. If you play Stell, explore these lines. Lava roller is real. I didn't respect it. It is slow until you get it to diamond. That's a big problem with the item. I think it's a fair criticism of the item, but it's quite powerful. You should use it. Those
It's
are my
very funny
thoughts.
you should say that because that's the issue right now on Vanessa with Anchor. Like this seems MetallFenix you said the keg comparison, but this reminds me as well of Anchor right now, where the upgrade from gold to diamond is so big, like for that item right now, because it's both cooldown reduction and damage increase. So yeah, this is just I love to try more lava roller stuff. You actually inspired me here with the workshop tech. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, and shout out to Nature, right? Like he was exploring the workshop line. I just happened to see him like after he posted the screenshot, and I had like a tool line where I got Stell's workshop early, and then I got a big one, and then I got a lava roller, and I had a ticket, and then I got obsidian, and I'm like, this works without obsidian. This is really strong. Like it's a 7 second cast on a diamond lava roller. He gets charged 2 seconds immediately. Another 2 seconds from the flare gun with the second reduced off his cooldown when the burn hits. And it's just instant, man. Like it's crazy how fast this is. Like it really does feel. I've played a good bit of anchor games, you know, when I've just been having fun learning Vanessa. It feels exactly like that. It just feels like an auto win. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of, we do actually have one lava roller board from Nature himself as well. This one with
look at that,
the
dude.
yeah.
How does
It's
this?
got,
I'm so confused. Like, how is this? Like, he doesn't run any of the destroy fodder.
I'd imagine it's a 1 or 2 losser at the most, right? Like this doesn't tempo out like super late. Maybe it does, but I don't
I think
it doesn't look like the
main
damage is
thing,
there.
the main thing here
He has a diamond
is
hidden
the
arsenal.
fact
What the
that-
heck?
Yeah, with the the fact that he has the radar dome
Right.
and the ornithopter with the pirate skill for the cooldown reduction and the double flare gun and that fiber optics.
Yes.
I think what happens is that when the lava roller goes, it will destroy the ornithopter, making it the recipient of the fiber optics as well. So in practice, while your scaling isn't like that insane, let's just so it's the lava roller.
200. It's gonna be like 200 burn. Like
Yeah, it
twice.
doubles its burn, so it'll go up to, it's even a little bit more, but yeah, in the range of like 250 or whatever. If you have a 250 burn item that's in practice just like 5 or 4 second cooldown, that probably gets
valid.
there pretty well, especially with 3 times multicast. So it's burning
you're
like
right.
600 per cast.
Yeah, I didn't consider that shielded. You're absolutely right. I see.
It's
it
a really
now.
cool
see
board.
it
I
now.
will just say, if you have 2 flare guns and an ornithopter and a shield enchant and radar dome,
Game's over.
there are a lot of things to win with there. Like this is really
Yeah.
cool. Like this is really creative, but I
This
just
is
want to
awesome,
point out
yeah.
like that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Really
super
creative.
sick. But yeah, like as soon as you print a second flare gun on Stell, the game is over. Like your lines are infinite. The game is over, man. Like it's awesome. The lava roller's so sick. I really
Yeah, so
hope people explore more.
Did you see the build I posted in
Yes, so we also
Alright.
have, this is a submission by Sixten.
Yeah, and this is why I love Bombs Away. Like Bombs Away is such a great addition to Stealth. For those that don't know what it does, it says when you use a vehicle or drone, you burn. That means that Battle Balloon becomes a way better item now. It can very easily start to chain very quickly. So here I have a setup where I have a fiery smoke detector. So that's whenever another item burns, you burn. And then Balloon Engine, when it goes off, it burns. So what happens is that every time Balloon Engine goes off, you get 2 burn procs off it. And then it has cooldown reduction from the flare gun. But then the fun thing here is that we have an ice cream truck, which is a vehicle, and it gets charged whenever like you use an adjacent item. So, and then I have like the cooldown reduction diamond skill with like flying items have 15% cooldown reduction. So what we have right here is like a semi-infinite battle balloon that charges an ice cream truck. So my final opponent was like it was dinosaurs dually with 4 dinosaurs. I permafroze these dinosaurs, and then my pressure heater stacked the burn on my smoke detector to kill them. It's like one of the coolest cooks I've ever done, because you rarely see like ice cream truck played on ladder. But if ice cream truck was a stealth item, it would actually be like a good item. Like it would just go on boards. So yeah, I really like ice cream truck. I wish it, like, I just think it's cool to have this kind of large charging weird support freeze item that doesn't, like, it doesn't kill people on its own, but it's like a really cool support piece. It's kind of like an iceberg in a way. So yeah, that's one of my favorite builds I did this patch.
That's a cook. That's so much pressure. And speaking of battle balloon, I am gonna go as far as saying, and I've said it before, I'm gonna say it again. Before, I would have told you Ornithopter followed by Flare Gun are probably Stell's best items. Battle Balloon with Bombs Away being in the game is now Stell's best item, and it's not close in my opinion.
I agree. I would say though that like the difference is it requires a skill, right? Like you need hotspot or the skill.
Yes,
If you have
of
the
course,
skill,
yeah.
sure. But like Ornithopter doesn't require a skill. Like that's why I think I would still say that Ornithopter is just. I mean, I
But
don't
with
know.
all
You
the
might be
big
right.
items,
Actually,
the problem is with the big items nerfed, it plays in less boards now. Like
that's
it's not
true.
in
Yeah.
all your
No,
boards.
like Battle Balloon is way better now. Like it's actually just you have to buy it almost when you see it because it's so
yeah,
useful.
you do.
But yeah, that's
But yeah, it
my
is conditional. But yeah, that board is awesome, man. Like it's I don't even like that's so. I've never actually seen someone use this truck, by the way, like on stealth. So it's really cool. Did you get it off of? Was it
I think I
Hellbilly
got it off.
or
There's
the
like a
Frost guy,
monster who has
Chili
it, and I think
Charles?
I might have upgraded it. Yeah, I like I saw the potential, and I think I just like kept it in the stash, and then I found like an upgrade for it, and it was like it actually pulled off. Like it actually did something. So, but it was a bit of a like I felt like against some opponents it wouldn't be good, but specifically against like a dually in the late game, I'm super happy to have freeze. You know, like just dually is very
Yeah,
vulnerable to freeze
or the
overall.
pigs, like Phoenix said earlier, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the disruption's so
Mm-hmm.
strong, and that's what I like
Ironically,
about Vanessa.
yeah, I would never queue this into a Stell in the late game. Like Rod is just game over, and even like flying
Yeah,
Stell is like freeze isn't even that good into Stell. Like I think so. I got a bit lucky with my final opponent in that sense, but overall just really cool item, and this just
yeah,
highlights how Bombs Away has opened up like so many ways to be creative on Stell. I have played Crane Bombs Away Battle Balloon. Like it's just a ton of cool. I like heroes from other items are way stronger now because of Bombs Away. If that makes sense, it just opens up so many
yes.
cool stuff.
And she
All
already
right.
used hero like other heroes items, like among the best, right? Like your
Yeah.
atmosphere, dude. You should have. Do you have the screenshot
Okay.
for your
Do I have?
atmospheric
Okay. Hold on.
sampler,
Let me
dude?
give me a second.
That board was insane,
Okay. Give
man.
me a second. Yes, I forgot about that board. Hold on. I'm gonna try and find it real quick. Atmospheric sampler. Atmospheric sampler. Oh, here it is. All right, Metal. If you have the chance to pull this up, this was one of my craziest cooks ever.
Yeah, I wish you recorded like the fight because this. Okay, so if you ever see this item, guys, on Stealth, you need to grab it out of pearls. Like it's game breaking, man.
So what you
I
got
don't know.
here is the vortex cannon with Ornithopter, and then a Skyliner with the atmospheric sampler.
Yes, so I'm gonna try and explain what happens here. So Ornithopter is a 2-second item. It's a 2-second item, and it becomes flying because of Vortex Cannon. And then Vortex Cannon is a 3-second item, but it's actually even lower because I put CDR on it and I have the flying skill. And then Skyliner has a bunch of CDR on it as well. I don't remember exactly. Maybe it's like it was like a 7-second item or something, or 7.5. And Atmospheric Sampler says whenever you use an enchanted or a flying item, charge another flying or enchanted item 2 seconds. In practice, what this board is Exodia. When the Skyliner goes off, it infinitely charges everything. Because every time Ornithopter gets charged, it's like the Ornithopter is 2 seconds. It's like you don't lose any energy. It's like the energy is preserved. It just charges back essentially. And then the Vortex Cannon is really close to being 2 seconds. So there's like some, how should you phrase it? Like the Vortex Cannon, if every charge lands there, you will break the infinite. But because you have like 3 items, it's very unlikely. So what in practice happens is as soon as the Skyliner goes off, every item on my board infinitely charges itself, just unlike ICD, and then they explode. It was so fun, like so fun. I actually even played before I played this. I actually put the what is it called? The meter, the like small stell item. Do you remember what it's called, Metal?
Like the
Altimeter, yeah,
Altimeter,
altimeter,
yes. Because Altimeter is a diamond, a 4-second item when you have flying items that charges adjacent items 2 seconds. So for a long time I played that over Ornithopter, and it was like an even stronger infinite. But for the final match, it was like against Vanessa, so I wanted Ornithopter for start time. But like I had this super cool Altimeter cook as well. And yeah, just I think Atmospheric Sampler is maybe we talked about like Battle Balloon being one of the best items in the game now. Sampler is completely insane. It's like a pendulum on
yeah,
steroids.
incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible. It's
I
absolutely
don't know how
incredible.
they nerfed Pendulum, but then put this in the game. It's just, but it's I love it. Like I think it's a fun item. I don't think it's like I think because it's like I don't know how to phrase it. Like I feel like Mac just somehow when things are broken on Mac in the late game, they don't feel as oppressive. I don't know if any of you have an explanation for this, but like I'm not complaining about boiling flask right now. Like I'm not complaining about flying potion, even though those are like crazy items. Is it just that people don't play Mac, or do you guys know why? Like,
I think a lot of it
go
comes
on.
down to the fact that Mac has very distinct like weaknesses. He's very well designed in that sense. But they made it very hard for him to reliably solve both start time and also um, defenses, which
Yeah,
always means that whenever you lose to a Mac, you tend to feel like, for one, there was some level of opening that you could have seen yourself beating if you had a different board. And then the other one is that a lot of the time you feel like just by looking at the board, you can kind of tell how much work they had to put in to making that combo happen. Like a lot of the time when you can see the skill expression in play by your opponent, it's much less frustrating to lose to.
that makes so much sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, because Mac is like the opposite for Pig for me. Like I never am like when I lose to a Mac in the late game, I just like psychologically I'm never like, oh I hate Mac, that's so bullshit. Like like I had no chance here. Like it always feels like, oh if I had an icicle, oh if I had like more haste, oh if I had like raid, you know what I mean? Like there's always
yeah,
something I could have done differently, and that I just that like Mac might be more broken than Pig, but there is something about the way they have designed Mac where I just am not frustrated when Mac is like strong in the late game. For like it's just how it is for me. I don't know, but yeah, it's interesting.
yeah. I agree. He just seems fair. I like the way he plays, and his highest cap boards take a lot to put together, and it's a pretty RNG based. So I just like Mac. I respect him. I like Dooley for the same reasons, though Dooley can be a little more linear, I suppose. Like I don't know. I hear conflicting things on that end, but yeah, I feel like when I see the highest cap Dooley and Mac boards, I'm just like, yeah, the GG's, like respect. Like I'm not mad about it at all. I don't know why that is psychologically compared to Pig, but yes, that is that is how I feel as well.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, do we have any other boards of the
Yeah,
week?
we got a few more actually, because due to the break, I've actually received
Yeah.
a lot of submissions in the meantime. So we have this is kind of like a sequel almost to the cranberry boards that we had a bit ago, but it's yet
Oh, that's sick.
another
Okay,
one of
this
his.
is hilarious. Like,
Wow. I don't even want to imagine how much damage that is. Like that just
yeah,
seems.
man.
Yeah,
That's a triple casted great sword, dude, or whatever it's called. That is
yeah,
insane damage, right? Like that's
triple
just the
casted
scaling's
infernal
nuts.
greatsword,
Do you guys know what the
and
cooldown of that item is? Like how
It's like
many?
I
9
can
seconds.
bring it
Okay,
up.
9 seconds.
So
So it's like a Skyliner almost. Yeah, that's gonna be
yeah,
really
nine
fast because he has start game
seconds.
haste. Yeah.
And I think the really important thing here, of course, is the fact that with the fact that it scales equal to the burn on the enemy,
Hmm.
and this setup is designed around, I think, like at least two of your items will have flown by the time this goes off, meaning that you have like 100 burn
Yeah.
applied from just the fiery balloon engine. Because 42 is a pretty ridiculous number to have on a balloon engine in any scenario just
Yes.
on its
Yes.
own.
I am happy if I have 20 burn on my Blue Engine on day 10. Like I'm very, very happy about that. So 42 is completely insane. That's yeah. That's such a cool board. Like Great Sword. I love that item so much, but in practice I just love cash more. Like you know what I mean? Like you get it, now you have infinite gold. I wish I
You
just
got to be in
kept
a
it in
good
the
spot
stash
to
more
play
often.
this. That's what makes it
Yeah.
so cool. Like, cause yeah, the spot is incredible, right? To like tempo
Yeah.
this out with the perfect 10, like it's just really cool to see. Like,
Yeah.
and shout out Cranberry, nice guy. I talked to that
Yeah,
guy
I
on the
that I
Yeah,
Discord.
think I
yeah.
mentioned him on the pod earlier. He actually helped me like workshop some style lines and stuff. Like he's a really great style player as well. So really, we should have him on the pod. Like absolutely. if he wants to be on
Both
Great
both
Guy.
Cranberry and Nature have been sending a lot of stuff my way. They seem great.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And speaking of, so to wrap things off, we kind of have this is almost like a two-piecer,
Okay.
where this first one is a little bit of an older board from Nature. It was before Hang Glider got disabled, and then now it's back in the game. But this was before the first time that it got disabled, and it's just inarguably one of the most unique boards I think that I've ever seen
Oh
on
my
a
god.
final win.
So Google told this is so crazy. When I was
What?
coached on Vanessa yesterday, we saw a stealth glider in the shop, and he was like, "Okay, Sixten, there is this guy called Nature, and if you are Nature, you buy this glider in case you get fire enchant on it." And I was like, "What? What is the fire enchant?" So Metal, do you want to tell the people here how this works? Because
Yes,
it's crazy.
so with the stealth glider, fiery is the first time you use an item each fight, burn equal to 5% of your max health.
Yeah.
So
So you play Clamora.
yeah, play
And then,
Clamora.
but like the only thing I feel like is imagine you play this and you queue into a 8k health pig. Like that's why I'm terrified of trying it, because I feel like imagine if the opponent just has health, like imagine if they just don't, die immediately. Then what is like the backup plan? But
Yeah,
yeah,
because you just Clamora, they take big burn, you
yeah.
have a life preserver there, it
So what does the other
resets,
like? What's the purpose of the other glider? Is it just to flex, or does it actually
It
like? I'm
might,
so
I don't
confused.
know, it might be flex. I'm not sure. It might be one of those things where we'd almost
Hold
need
on,
to get Nature to
double check.
explain
Yeah,
the
he needs to
board
be on the board as well.
himself,
I'm
but
so
I'm gonna
confused by this.
double check just
Stealth glider.
so let's yeah,
Well,
I'm
when you have
wondering
two
if
gliders, they stack. Like
yeah,
you
I'm
get
wondering if
16
it's
seconds.
like due to start of game activation priority, the Clamra goes off before the stealth glider question mark. Could
I
that could
think
be
maybe
it?
what happens is that the clamor only uses up one of the gliders. Like the other one can still be active. I don't know.
Oh, that's the case. Okay, that
Maybe
makes way
that.
more sense. I thought they
Yeah.
stack. Okay, okay.
No, no.
I'm
So
completely wrong. I
basically,
think
you
that is the
cannot
case.
like if you do clamor stealth glider, you
Oh,
will brick
oh,
your
I see what
glider.
you're saying. So you're
So it,
saying that how it works is that it makes it effectively so that you can use two items?
I don't know, but I like if that
Yeah,
is not the
no, so
case,
this
there's
is
no
the
reason
kind
to
of
run
the
that.
beauty of the board.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about it a little bit because it's been a couple of weeks
Yeah.
since he sent it. But it's very much like just
I don't
a
like if
mystifying board to look at, but it is winning.
the thing is also like this is like a very like I don't think we have like the closest to this is like when we had the infinite start of game Exodia daggers on like the first day of the Bazaar ever. Like we haven't had these kind of start of game automatically put a bunch of damage on your opponent boards. Like that's quite a rare sight. Like it's very rare to just like I guess there is the skills Firestarter. So it's like imagine you take Firestarter and you take that times 100. Like that's kind of what you're doing here with this board. It's just a very cool win condition. Like you don't see these kind of just start of game I do one thing and then that hopefully is enough to kill you. Like it's a very very unique way to play the Bazaar.
Yeah.
Anyway, super cool. Actually, I know what it is. He's playing flame. No, this is flame juggler. He's literally a flame juggler as a player here. Like just it's flame juggler as a player with his board. Like the start of game, you put a bunch of burn, and then if your opponent cannot like stabilize, they're dead. So anyway, super cool.
I'm just checking. I'm checking with the guy himself right now if we're missing something.
Oh,
So,
okay. If I can, in the
I've
meantime,
one more that I
that one.
can
Yeah.
show at the same time. Where did that go? Let me bring it up. I have one that's escaping from me. There we go.
Actually, I have one. I have to like metal. If you go to our DMs, the one I sent you last night, if you can also pull that one up because it's just so insane. Just the high roll of the
This makes so
like,
much sense now.
what did he say?
So, he's sending me a clip too.
Oh, okay.
So he was hoping to lose so that he could death enchant the second glider for another fiery, but he won instead.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
That's
no, that's why it looks so mystifying, because it was literally a board meant to lose, but it just won instead. That's beautiful. While I
yeah.
wait for that clip from him, I'll show you. This is his other submission, which is another stealth glider board,
Oh,
but
with
this time
damn, that's
with
so
dam.
clever.
So here's the start of combat instant burn application. Then the dive weights charge the dam, and now it's just nothing left on the board.
That is so toxic, but it's like so hard to pull. Like it's so cool at the same time. It's like really cool. But imagine if this was actually a meta. Like
Oh,
this was just the
yeah,
late game,
it's
you
so
know?
funny. Well,
Dude, this is hilarious,
it's
man.
the meta for
Yeah.
nature specifically. No,
Yeah.
that's a fast ass dam to be
No,
quite
no, no. You like
honest.
yeah, that is insane. Like that is an insane bit. Like, there is not much that can beat that. I can tell you that right now. Like that's
Oh, because he has there's a diamond oceanic rush as well.
yeah,
So and the diamond figurehead as well. So
yeah,
obviously, as soon as it goes, it makes the dive weights get hasted as well, and the dam itself get hasted, and the yeah whole thing.
yeah,
Okay, here's the clip. Let me bring
yeah.
that
Let's
up.
watch this.
This is the double glider, the actual one fight. It's just
That's so stupid, but I love it. I love it.
that's so funny.
So
Yeah,
funny, dude.
yeah. That's one of the
Dude,
stupidest.
that is
Like,
hilarious, man. That is so funny.
Yeah,
yeah,
it really is just, hey, sometimes if you just burn someone for 300 at second zero, then you win, even if the rest of your board is like actually zero items, I guess. Oh, that's
yeah.
pretty good. He didn't even get low enough for the life preserver to activate. Oh.
That's crazy.
Oh, so he said that he was rolling for belt at Pearl, because obviously the glider
Oh
enchant
God,
scales
yes,
with your
of
max
course.
health, but he found the healing glider and, quote, decided if someone lost to this board, they deserved it, so I ran with it.
God. Okay.
Oh, that is spectacular. That is so good.
Yeah,
So yes, there we go. I think that's a perfect
yeah,
one to wrap it up on. Amazing submissions by nature. Shout outs to him. Socials. So if people want to see more of you, Urmia, where can they find you?
Twitch TV. X Urmia is my stream name, and that's where you can catch me. I don't have any other socials for the most part. I'm still getting set up. I'm a new streamer, but
Yeah.
I am starting to stream more consistently. I do have midterms coming up, so I won't be live as much for the next like week and a half or two, but I'll be getting back to it pretty strong after that.
And of course, as always, I'll make sure to have the link to the Twitch channel in the description of the podcast as well.
Thanks.
And Sixten, what about you?
yeah. Twitch.tv/2Sixten. I plan to maybe stream today as well. We'll see, maybe tomorrow. But yeah, I try to stream almost every day. A mixture of Stella and Vanessa, right? Like right now, I'm so in love with like the Vanessa playstyle. So if you want to see someone learn Vanessa from scratch almost, you can find me at Twitch. I also upload stuff to YouTube, 2Sixten. I will. I want to make like a Vanessa guide in a way, but I feel like I'm the wrong person to do that right now. But I'm so like enthused right now to just make Bazaar content. So hopefully I'll have some more videos coming up soon. I also have a Discord server you can join where you can talk with other good people, players, and share your builds. Yeah, that's all my stuff. What about you, Metal?
Yeah, so I stream at twitch.tv/MetallFenix, 2 L's and an F, same name as on the screen. I stream very rarely, it's just unfortunately a bit time consuming. So most of my uploads are found on my YouTube channel by the same name, mostly focus on guide content. I'm currently hoping that if I can find the time, I would like to update especially the Mac overview, since it's the most out of date, but there's also been a lot happening to Vanessa, for example, that could be worth putting on there. But no promises. I've learned by now that it's mostly about whether or not I have both time and energy juggling a lot of things. But that's where you can find me. If you want to know if I pull it off, just leave me a subscribe. It'll show up in your feed. The beauty of technology.
Yeah, and also one
But
final thing,
yeah,
if people are wondering where's Walter, we just couldn't find a way to schedule, like it's just
yeah,
time
just
zone problems. He wanted to
entirely
be on.
scheduling
Yeah.
conflicts. But hopefully we have him back next week. So look forward to that. I feel like he's been up to nefarious deeds as per usual.
Yes.
So,
Well, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
no worries. You've been an absolutely wonderful guest, and I hope everyone else enjoyed listening to the episode as well. We'll definitely have another guest, another episode in the future. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or via RSS feed for your podcast listening app of choice. This has been a Bazaar podcast, and until the next one, I hope that wherever you are, you have a wonderful morning, day, evening, or night, and that perhaps we'll see you there.